about. You are not allowed to talk about my second sister. You are the bad guy. You took my biscuits and candies and gave them to Little Glasses. You are so mean, and Little Glasses doesn't appreciate your kindness. Tang Jujin was so angry that his cheeks were puffed up, and he didn't even bother to eat the peach cakes. She hated her eldest sister the most. Tang Mianyan's mouth corners slightly raised. It was not in vain that she loved this little girl. Old Lady Tang took out the key, opened the door with a dark face, and pushed it hard. Tang Wujin inside was shocked and stepped back in fear. Jujin is more sensible than you. Why do your grandfather and I spoil Nian Nian? Because without Nian Nian, our family would starve to death, and you, a fool, would not live to this day. Old Lady Tang slapped several times. Her hands were a little numb, and she handed over a feather duster sensibly. It was Jujin. The old lady took the feather duster and slapped him on the head. If I had known that you had maggots in your brain, I should have starved you to death 17 years ago. Do you still want to compete with Nian Nian? How can you compare with her? Nian looks like a flower, but you are just a dog's tail. Nian studies hard and gets 100 points in the exam, but you only get an empty score. Nian can hunt, so if you have the ability, don't eat meat. How could I give birth to such a stupid thing like you? Others have brains in their heads, but you have in yours. Old Mrs. Tang slapped Tang Wujin after scolding him. Tang Wujin hugged his head and begged for mercy. Su Jinfeng wanted to plead for her daughter, but was stopped by Tang Manjin. Tang Manjin's face was ashen, and he glared at his eldest daughter fiercely. An honest man rarely gets angry, but once he gets angry, he is particularly scary. Su Jinfeng didn't dare to say anything. She knew that her eldest daughter had touched the sore spot of her mother-in-law and husband this time. She must not compare with Tang Nian at home, and she must not even have such a thought. When the eldest daughter wanted Tang Nian's new hairpin when she was young, she cried and made a fuss for a long time. When her father-in-law found out, he asked her to stand in the yard for an hour. He also said that rural girls should be self-aware and not think unrealistically all the time. The father-in-law also said that Tang Nian's new clothes were all bought with her parents' own money, so she shouldn't be envious. Su Jinfeng listened to her daughters crying and screaming in pain in the room, and she felt very uncomfortable and resented He Guoqing even more. It was this Little Glasses who harmed her eldest daughter. Wu Jin was so sensible before, but since this Little Glasses came, Wu Jin's brain has been like a demon. God bless this Little Glasses to die on the farm.
Su Jinfeng thấy excellent.
Old Mrs. Tang was tired of beating her. Tang Wujin lay on the ground crying. Her body was in pain everywhere, and she hated Tang Nian even more. She was obviously her biological daughter, but Grandma only had that wild girl Tang Nian in her heart. Reflect on yourself in the room. Don't come out if you can't figure it out. Old Lady Tang pointed at her and scolded her. Without even looking at her, she closed the door and locked it. Tomorrow she would go to matchmaker Ma to find a boyfriend for this idiot. She had no other requirements. The young man could be older, have good character, be hardworking, and have a good family background. But he must have a bad temper, otherwise he wouldn't be able to control this idiot. Don't feed this idiot anything in the future. He only eats porridge every meal. He only has the energy to think about random things when he's too full. A girl's body is a girl's life. Do you still want to go to the city to be a lady? Old Lady Tang scolded in the room. What she hated most was idiots who had no self-awareness. Tang Wujin looked ordinary and had a dull mind. The only advantage was that he was quite skillful at work. With such conditions, he still wanted to marry a city person? Humph, it would be more practical to go to heaven. A belt would be enough. Tang Manduo and Su Jinfeng agreed reluctantly. They also knew that although what Old Lady Tang said was unpleasant, it made a lot of sense. It is absolutely impossible to marry He Guoqing. Su Jinfeng plans to ask Ma the matchmaker to find a good young man for her eldest daughter, who should be closer to Tang village so that her family can take care of her. She is worried if he is too far away. Tang Nian didn't care about these trivial matters. She thought it was a waste of time to look at a fool like Tang Wujin for a second longer, and she couldn't do anything good about him. She concentrated on eating rice cakes. The rice cakes in Jucheng are delicious. In her previous life, she had eaten rice cakes fried with vegetables, but she didn't expect that they would have a unique flavor when cooked in soaked rice, and they were especially chewy. After breakfast, Tang Mianyan prepared to go into the city. She had to find the director of the Red Star Machinery Factory to discuss cooperation on that batch of parts. Don't buy things blindly, spend money sparingly. Old Mrs. Tang repeatedly warned before leaving. She couldn't bear to see this dead girl squandering money, and she felt so sorry for her.
Oh.
Tang Mianyan responded half-heartedly and got some vegetable moss from the field and sent it to Tang Manin. By the way, she went to the mountain again, got some grass and wild fruits into the space, and shot a few rabbits. There are many rabbits in the mountains in spring, but ordinary people can't catch them. Tang Mianyan rode her bike to the village entrance. After riding a long way, she could hear the voice of old Mrs. Tang talking to someone behind her. Qi Guohua and Yang Hongling are going to the city to get a marriage certificate? It's none of my business. They are a perfect match. Old Mrs. Tang shouted at the top of her voice. In fact, she was very unhappy, but she couldn't show it. She was just unhappy that Yang Hongling got the advantage. Although Qi Guohua was not a good person, he had a bright future in the army and was about to be promoted. It was originally a good match for her granddaughter, but now it was Yang Hongling's turn. Why didn't God strike them to death with thunder? Tang Mianyan heard everything. Great, the scumbag, and they were finally tied together. When she got the spare parts, she would come back to deal with Qi Guohua. After riding out of Tang village for only 2 miles, she saw the figures of Qi Guohua and Yang Hongling. The two were very close. Yang Hongling was wearing a brand new red plaid coat, and Qi Guohua was wearing a military uniform, dressed up carefully. Tang Mianyan rode directly past them. Brother Guohua, let's take a picture first and send it to my parents. They haven't seen you yet. Yang Hongling deliberately spoke loudly and delicately, but her teeth were not well fixed, and her speech was leaking. Okay, I still have a home visit leave during the new year, and I will go to your house then. Qi Guohua also raised his voice. He just wanted Tang Mianyan to hear it. Listen to you. Yang Hongling looked shy and moved closer to Qi Guohua. But she didn't see that Qi Guohua moved to the side without leaving a trace, glanced at her and quickly moved away. Yang Hongling, who was missing 8 teeth, had a dry face and shriveled lips, just like an old lady, which made him feel uncomfortable. If his home visit leave was not about to end, he really didn't want to get the marriage certificate with Yang Hongling so soon, but Yang Hongling was his only bargaining chip, and he had to hold on to her. Tang Mianyan rode away quickly, without listening to the two people talking. She rode all the way to the machinery factory, where the security guard recognized her and greeted her warmly. Niece Manin is here. Yes, something. Tang Mianyan replied and rode directly into the factory. The old man felt a little regretful, because the cigarettes he gave her yesterday were so fragrant. The workshop was already working, and Tang Mianyan went to the door of the workshop and asked someone to call Tang Manin out. Second uncle, have you seen the drawings of that batch of parts? What parts? Tang Manin hadn't reacted yet. The workshop was full of parts. Which one was the niece asking about? The one for the 6th level fitter. That one, of course I've seen it. The drawings are right in the workshop, and the requirements are very high. Tang Manin reacted and asked, why are you asking this? Show me the drawings. Tang Mianyan didn't answer, and urged him to get the drawings. No, the factory has a rule that the drawings cannot be passed on. Tang Manin refused. In fact, the rule is not so strict because these drawings were all parts drawings, and even if they were leaked, it would not have much impact on the overall product. But he was just a temporary worker, so he didn't want to give people a handle. Then tell me about the accuracy requirements. Tang Mianyan also felt that it was a bit difficult to ask, so he asked Tang Manin to talk about the accuracy requirements of parts. Tang Manin briefly talked about it, felt strange, and asked, Mianyan, why are you asking this? Something's going on. Second uncle, do you want to be a regular employee? Yes, Mianyan, do you have a way? Tang Manin's eyes lit up in an instant. He really wanted to be a regular employee. Yes, take me to see the factory manager now. Tang Nianyan drew a big pancake with meat filling. Although Tang Manin was confused by the pancake, he still had some rationality and asked Tang Nianyan to tell him why he was looking for the factory manager. I know an 8th level fitter who can process this batch of parts and complete it within 3 days. Tang Nianyan's casual words scared Tang Manin, who looked at his niece suspiciously. Nianyan, there is not a single 8th level fitter in the whole city. How do you know him? He is not so easy to fool. There are only 2 6th level fitters in the whole city, and the only 8th level fitter's hands are shaking. His level is not even as good as his. He will not take his niece to the factory manager to fool him, so as not to fool his temporary worker. Anyway, I have it. If you don't take me, I'll find it myself. Tang Nianyan was impatient and turned away. At worst, she could go to the office building to look for it one by one. Tang Manin's scalp was numb. He didn't want to care, but if this girl caused trouble and offended the factory director, he would have to clean up the mess. It would be better to follow this girl. Don't tell lies to the factory director, Nianyan. It's not easy for your second uncle to find a temporary worker. Don't let your second uncle ruin it. The 10 yuan will be returned to you. Go home. Tang Manin chanted like Tang Sung all the way. Tang Nianyan's ears were mascarried from chanting. She wanted to punch this second uncle. Finally, they arrived at the door of the factory director's office. Director Wu sat there with a dark face and sulked because Director Qian of Tianjin Machinery Factory had just called to show off that the progress was faster than his. According to this progress, Tianjin Factory would definitely deliver the goods earlier than him. His face was going to be slapped hard by Qian Wangba again. Although Director Wu was very angry, he also knew that haste makes waste. Master had already tried his best. If he put more pressure on him, the efficiency would be even slower, so he could only sulk alone. He was so angry. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door. Who? Director Wu asked unhappily. If it wasn't an urgent matter, don't bother him. Tang Manin, who was outside the door, shuddered with fear. To him, the director was like an emperor. He had never been so close to the director before. Ba, God bless, don't let anything happen. Tang Nianyan. Tang Nianyan answered loudly, more confident than the director's secretary. Although Tang Manin was very worried, he couldn't help laughing. How could the director know a little girl like his niece? Director Wu was indeed thinking about the circle of friends in his mind. Who is Tang Nianyan? From the tone, she must be someone important. Director Wu, who had been thinking for a long time but still couldn't come up with a solution, let the person in. He was afraid that he might offend someone accidentally because of his bad memory. What if Tang Nianyan was an important person? Tang Nianyan pushed the door open and walked in with a swagger. Tang Manin hesitated at the door for a long time before he followed in with his calves trembling. Who are you? Director Wu looked at the uncle and nephew. The man was wearing the factory's work clothes and must be an employee of the factory. But he didn't know where this pretty girl came from, so she shouldn't be an important person. His attitude became colder. Director, I know an 8th level fitter who can process that batch of parts within 3 days. By then, you can dance on Director Qian's head. Tang Nianyan stated the purpose of his visit directly. Director Wu was so angry that he laughed and said with a sullen face, Little girl, I don't have time to fool around with you. Take the people out. He pointed at Tang Manin. What nonsense! There is no level 8 fitter in the whole city, and even if there's a level 8 fitter, it is impossible to process that batch of parts within 3 days. He is not a fool. How can he be fooled by such nonsense? Tang Manin was so scared that he was sweating all over his forehead and his mouth turned white. He reached out to grab his niece. The girl was so bold that she even dared to fool the factory director. If he had known, he would not have brought her here. God bless you. The factory director. Please don't fire him from his temporary job. Tang Nianyan slapped his claws away and said coldly to Director Wu, Whether I am fooling around or not, give me a blank to process and you will know after looking at the finished product. Director Wu, I was originally planning to find Director Qian because I heard from people outside that Director Qian is decisive, young, and courageous. Director Wu's face darkened at a speed visible to the eye, and Tang Manin's had also dropped down little by little. almost sticking to his crotch. Oh my God, why did he lose his head before, believe his niece's lies, and bring this girl to the factory director to talk nonsense? God bless you. Please don't lose his job. Even 3-year-old children at the Red Star Machinery Factory know that what Director Wu hates most is being compared with Director Qian. Director Qian is 5 years younger than Director Wu. In the past, when the Industrial Bureau held a meeting, the director praised Director Qian in front of all the factory directors in Zhucheng for being young, courageous, and decisive. The other factory directors just felt jealous and didn't feel much. After all, they were not competing with each other. Only Director Wu, as one of the only 2 factory directors of the machinery factory in Zhucheng, was praised by Director Qian, but he was not. Isn't this a criticism? Director Qian is young and courageous and decisive in dealing with things, which is a criticism of his indecisiveness and lack of courage at an old age. This is how Director Wu understands it. Therefore, over the years, he has been competing with Tianjin Machinery Factory everywhere, no matter what. Even if Tianjin Machinery Factory repairs the toilet and builds 3 squatting pits, Director Wu will definitely ask someone to add a pit to his own toilet. There must be one more than Tianjin. The reason why Tang Mianyan said this is to use the method of provocation. Good methods are not afraid of getting old, as long as they work. Director Wu's charcoal-like face showed that the provocation had worked. She changed the subject and said, I had already walked to the gate of Tianjin Factory. After thinking about it, I turned back to Hongxing for 2 reasons. My second uncle is a Hongxing man, and the wealth should not flow to outsiders. Second, my second uncle often said in front of me that Director Wu was open-minded and decisive, very innovative, and a rare talent in a century. Tang Manin's head, which was about to go into his crotch, shook a little and quietly raised it a little to sneak a glance at the director. The director's face, which was darker than charcoal, became a little lighter, and the drooping corners of his mouth also rose. He breathed a long sigh of relief and reached out to wipe the sweat from his forehead. My goodness. I was scared to death after going on this trip with my niece. Fortunately, this dead girl is good at telling lies with her eyes open. He has never mentioned the director in front of his niece, and he blushed when he heard those nonsense. The arc of Director Wu's mouth was getting bigger and bigger, and his mood was like a roller coaster, flying from the bottom to the sky. He looked at Tang Manin with praise. He looked at Tang Manin. He looked at him as an honest man, and his words were sincere, without a single word of falsehood. He liked this kind of employee the most. Don't think you can impress me by saying nice things. There is no room for negotiation. Although Director Wu was no longer angry, he still did not give in. The parts that can only be processed by a level 6 fitter, even if a 17 or 18-year-old girl said it in a fancy way, he would not agree. I am telling the truth, Director Wu. You can take a blank and let me try it. If the accuracy does not meet the requirements, just treat it as a... Tang Mianyan was not in a hurry. Everything is difficult at the beginning. As long as Director Wu can take out the blank, half of the success will be achieved. Director Wu's expression was a little relaxed, but he still did not give in. I dare to take over this task. Naturally, I have my channels. Although Zhucheng does not have a level 8 fitter, it does not mean that other cities do not have one. Tang Mianyan said again. Do you know an 8th level fitter? Director Wu's eyes lit up. If there really was an 8th level fitter, it would be easy. Tang Mianyan pulled the corner of her mouth slightly, with an unfathomable expression. Director Wu thought that she really knew an expert, and her heart was more relaxed. Doesn't Director Wu want to step on Tianjin? Tang Mianyan added fuel to the fire. This fire just ignited Director Wu's heart. He dreamed of stepping on Tianjin, but the best result in the past few years was only on par with Tianjin. Director Wu gritted his teeth, made up his mind, and looked at Tang Mianyan seriously. Tang Manin lowered his head again, not daring to look at the director. His legs were weak. Tang Mianyan looked at the other party expressionlessly, without deliberately showing his momentum, but after a while, Director Wu withdrew his gaze, his face a little hot. He was the head of a factory and had seen a lot of storms, but he didn't dare to look into the eyes of this little girl. Just a moment ago, he felt like he was being stared at by a wild beast, and a chill ran down his back. I'll give you 10 blanks. How long will it take you to process them? Delivery tomorrow, 100% precision. Tang Mianyan said firmly. The scrap rate of her high-precision machine tools is basically zero. Director Wu didn't hesitate for too long and asked his secretary to go to the workshop to get 10 blanks and processing drawings. Soon the secretary brought them, and Tang Mianyan took the drawings to study. In fact, the process was not complicated, but the precision requirements were difficult, which were difficult to achieve with current machine tools. Delivery on time at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Tang Mianyan collected the drawings and blanks and put them in a bag. When he arrived at the office building, Tang Mianyan leaned against the wall, exhaled a long breath, wiped the sweat off his face, and his clothes on his back were wet and stuck to his back, making him feel very uncomfortable. Mianyan, do you really know an 8th level fitter? Tang Mianyan asked in a low voice. He felt like he was dreaming now, and it was unreal.
Yeah.
Tang Mianyan strode forward. She wanted to find an empty place and enter the space to process parts. Wait, you're going to find an 8th level fitter now? He is in Jucheng? How did you know him? Tang Mianyan caught up and asked a series of questions. The abacus beads in his heart were about to fall out. Mianyan, uncle will accompany you. It's not peaceful outside. No need. Tang Mianyan refused. Tang Mianyan was still following behind. She turned her head and said coldly, Go back. I will make you a regular employee in the future. Tang Mianyan braked immediately. The inertia was too great. He pulled the tree next to him hard to stop. His palms were all rubbed. Can you really make a regular employee? Mianyan, you are not trying to make your second uncle happy, right? Tang Mianyan was surprised and nervous. He was afraid that this girl was just kidding him and he would be happy for nothing. Tang Mianyan rolled her eyes at him coldly and rode away. Tang Mianyan was left feeling lost for a long time, laughing and sighing, and then went back to the workshop to work. Tang Mianyan left the Red Star factory and rode to the grove. There was no one around, so she entered the space with her bicycle. Woof, 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 woof. The centenarian, whose paws were almost worn out, ran over and roared, cursing in a particularly dirty way. Tang Mianyan checked the fruits of the centenarian's labor and was very pleased. Had already awakened the ability of speed, became even stronger and faster after drinking the spiritual spring. He planted 100 acres of land in just one night, half wheat and half corn, and watered them all. Moreover, Bai Sui was a dog with obsessive-compulsive disorder and high IQ. Every pit was exactly the same, arranged neatly, and even neater than a ruler.
Great.
Tang Mianyan touched Bai Sui's head gently and went to check the rice seedlings. She searched for the seeds at home and didn't dare to take too much, so she only took a little to grow some seedlings first. With the blessing of the spiritual spring, the growth cycle of crops will be shortened and the harvested rice will be used as seeds.
Get lost. Woof.
Bai Sui barked in a bad mood. It was exhausted. Tang Mianyan took out a few cans and threw them to it to eat slowly. The hares and pheasants adapted very well in the space. The grassroots sprouted and grew very fast. She found that even without watering the spiritual spring, the crops in the space grew faster than outside. Bai Sui, don't let them go to the spiritual spring, Tang Mianyan warned, but she found that ordinary animals were very afraid of the spiritual spring and dared not approach it even if they were several miles away. Bai Sui rolled his eyes. Nonsense, such a good treasure must not be given to rabbits and chickens. Some pheasants even laid eggs, which Tang Mianyan picked up. She planned to build a house in the space after she had some free time, and also to get a stove, pots, and pans, so that she could rest and cook in the space in the future. Take your time, she still has a lot of time. Tang Mianyan inspected the circle, picked out a high-precision machine tool, drove a forklift to transport the machine tool to the open space, and then took out a generator and cables. There was no electricity in the space, but it didn't matter. She collected industrial generators and gasoline from several oil depots, enough for more than 10 lifetimes. The space is not set to be omnipotent. If it is too omnipotent, the heroine can win by lying down, and the author will have nothing to write, So the heroine needs to farm and generate electricity by herself. Industrial electricity is 380 volts AC. Tang Nianyan first connected the three-phase 5-wire cable. These are not difficult for her. As an electrical engineer, these are basic operations. All the machine tools in the space are debugged. After Tang Nianyan connected the cable, she started the generator. After a while, she powered on the machine tool. She entered the system with ease, entered various processing instructions and accuracy requirements according to the requirements of the part drawings, and then installed the appropriate tool head. These are all the work contents of her business trips. It is no exaggeration to say that she can operate all CNC machine tools in the world. Tang Nianyan fixed the workpiece and started the processing program, then pulled up the protective cover. A few minutes later, a part was processed. She took out a micrometer to measure the accuracy. The accuracy was a little more accurate than the requirements of the drawing, and it was completely up to standard. Tang Nianyan raised the corners of her mouth and continued to process the remaining 9 parts. In less than half an hour, all were completed. Each precision is higher than the requirements of the drawings. Tang Nianyan raised her mouth even higher, and her paralyzed face had a lot more spirit. Only in the space can she completely remove her disguise and really relax. She has an understanding of the mechanical level of this era. It is hard to say whether the processing accuracy of high-precision machine tools can reach level 8, but it is definitely higher than level 6, at least level 7. It means that she has hundreds of level 7 operators. Not only fitters, but also lathes, grinders, milling machines, drilling machines, boring machines, etc. She has them all in her space, and she can build a high-precision machinery factory. Tang Nianyan wrapped the 10 processed parts with cotton cloth and put them in the space. She will hand them over to Director Wu at 8 o'clock tomorrow and discuss the terms, by the way. She will definitely not do a loss-making business. If the benefits are not in place, there is no need to talk. There was nothing to do in the space, so Tang Nianyan simply drove a tractor to plow the fields. She plowed hundreds of acres in one breath and planted the remaining wheat and corn before leaving the space. It was already noon. Tang Nianyan went to a state-owned restaurant to eat and ordered a bowl of braised pork, a plate of braised hairtail, and a large bowl of rice. The braised pork and the braised hairtail were both 1.2 yuan, and the rice was 0.3 yuan. It also required a pound of meat coupons and half a pound of grain coupons. Tang Nianyan paid the money and coupons and ate with relish. He bit a piece of fat and lean meat, and the delicious gravy splashed in his mouth. The food was so delicious that she sighed and closed her eyes, reluctant to swallow it, savoring the deliciousness of the meat. After 3 years, I finally got to eat braised pork. It was so delicious. Tang Nianyan savored it for a long time before swallowing the meat, a mouthful of meat, a mouthful of rice, and then a piece of hairtail. Her mouth was not big, but she ate fast and fiercely, but it did not affect her beauty at all, but was very cute. Especially her bulging cheeks, eating so seriously, like a little hamster trying to live, which made people's appetite increase. The other guests watched Tang Nianyan eat, and they couldn't help swallowing their saliva, and went to find the braised pork. That girl eats so deliciously. The braised pork must be delicious. Let's eat this too. There were 3 men sitting on the left, 2 in military uniforms, and the other in public security uniforms. The public security and the man in military uniforms were all in their 30s, and the rest of the soldiers were very young, only in their early 20s. The one who spoke was the older public security, and he drooled when he saw Tang Nianyan eating so deliciously. Braised hairtail fish must be good, and let's have some pork chops and shisher tofu. You must eat this dish when you come to Zhucheng. Little Shun has never eaten it, right? The older man in military uniform said with a smile. They were responsible for receiving Shun Xiao today. Shun Xiao was a young soldier. He was very tall, even in the north. He had bronze skin, and the cold air on his body was colder than the cold winter in December. This cold air also weakened the handsomeness of his delicate features. He had such a good-looking face, but because it was too cold, no girl dared to look at him, let alone get close to him. I have eaten it. I lived in Zhucheng for a few years when I was a child. Shin Xiao explained lightly. He came here to cooperate with the police in investigating the case and had no interest in anything other than work. Therefore, he has not seen the beautiful girl who eats especially well, as the two big brothers said. He did not look sideways, his face was expressionless, and he sat straighter than a pine tree, like an ice sculpture. Zhou Jin and Wei Qingzong looked at each other helplessly. They had heard that Xin Xiao had a bad temper, but they did not expect him to be so cold. Even the veterans who had seen artillery fire did not dare to look into Xin Zhao's eyes. He is only 20 years old, right? He has such a strong evil spirit at such a young age. It is estimated that the blood of the enemies on his hands is at least hundreds. Xin Zhao's reputation is known throughout the country. Many military districts are vying for him, but he only stays in the Shanghai military district. He doesn't tell the reason. Anyway, no matter who persuades him, he will not move. Even the Xin family in Beijing came to persuade him, but he didn't give them face. The Shanghai military district is very happy. In recent years, because of Xin Xiao, this treasure, every year the military district competition has won the first place. Xin Xiao has also become the big treasure of the Shanghai military district. He doesn't even give face to the commander, and the commander is not angry. He still pampers him with a smile. Chen Xiao was specially sent here this time to cooperate with the Zhucheng Public Security Bureau in investigating a case. A few years ago, a serial perverted killer appeared in the city. He specifically targeted young women, beating them first, and then killing them. Moreover, after each murder, the murderer would cut off the victim's reproductive organs, which was extremely cruel. Wei Zhongcheng is the criminal police captain of Zhucheng and an old policeman with 15 years of experience in investigating cases. He was retired from the army and has rich experience in handling cases, but this case left him with no clue. He also found out that there was a similar victim in Zhucheng 3 years ago, but the murder escaped, and there was silence for 2 years in between. Starting from last spring, the murderer became very rampant. In the first half of spring and the second half of winter, he killed a total of 4 female victims. There was also a victim in the first month of this year. Including previous victims, there were 7 in total. The victims were between 15 and 30 years old. All of them were slim and beautiful women. When they were killed, they were all wearing red scarves. They were before death, and their reproductive organs were removed after death. The murderer was extremely perverted and cruel, and very arrogant. He provoked and teased the Zhucheng police like a cat playing with a mouse. Wei Zhongcheng and his colleagues worked overtime without sleep, but they had no clue. The murderer chose his victims randomly, without a fixed range or target. They sent female colleagues to tie red scarves to lure the murderer, but the murderer did not fall for it. But as soon as they stopped, the murderer killed an 18-year-old girl the next day. This case is like a pot hanging over their heads. Until the murderer is caught, the police will not be able to face the people of the city. The Zhucheng Public Security Bureau chief was also under great pressure. He had no choice but to ask the military for support. If the murder was not caught, the public would be angry and would question the ability of their public security. The military district sent the legendary Night Owl to assist the public security departments in various cities in solving many difficult and major cases. Zhou Jin is from the Armed Forces Department. He was responsible for receiving Qin Xiao. As soon as Qin Xiao arrived today, he brought him to the restaurant for dinner and also welcomed him. Comrade Xin has lived in Zhucheng? Aren't you from Beijing? Zhou Jin was surprised and blurted out. Everyone in the army knew that Xin Xiao was from the Xin family in Beijing. In addition to Xin Xiao, there were other people from the Xin family in the army, but their performances were not as impressive as Xin Zhao's. Moreover, Xin Zhao's current status is due to his own abilities, while other members of the Xin family are basically supported by the resources of the Xin family. Although Qin Xiao was the youngest, his position and salary were the highest among the children of the Xin family. Zhou Jin knew that Qin Xiao was currently earning an administrative level 14 salary, which was equivalent to a deputy regimental level salary. The military rank system was abolished in the 1970s, and the army divided salaries according to 27 administrative levels. After Zhou Jin asked this, he felt a little regretful. He shouldn't have asked about such private matters. Qin Xiao didn't care and said in a cold voice, I was lost when I was a child and ended up in Jucheng. Comrade Shen is blessed with good fortune, so he was blessed when he encountered difficulties. Zhou Jin was a smooth person and spoke nicely, so he changed the subject. They, the little people, cannot interfere in the affairs of the rich families, nor do they want to ask about them. The dishes are ready. I'll go get them. Wei Qingzhong stood up and went to the window to get the dishes. Tang Yanyan was also at the window. She went to get more rice and also added a bowl of braised pork. She was not full. Come here and take the dishes. Wei Qingzhong shouted. They ordered 5 dishes and one person couldn't carry them all. Chun Xiao strode over. With a height of 190 centimeters, he stood out from the crowd in the restaurant and was particularly eye-catching. In addition, his handsome face attracted the attention of several girls. But after just one look, the girls lowered their heads due to the cold. It was obvious that this man was not someone to be trifled with. He might even beat his wife. No matter how handsome he was, they should not marry him. Tang Yanyan held a bowl of rice and a plate of braised pork, turned around, and bumped into Xin Xiao.
I'm sorry.
Tang Yanyan hurriedly checked whether the braised pork was spilled. The key is the soup. The braised pork soup with rice is so delicious that not a drop can be spilled. It's okay, Chen Xiao said coldly. He reached out to take the dish handed over by Wei Zhongcheng. Tang Yanyan looked up at the corner of his eye and quickly glanced away. After receiving a plate of braised pork and a plate of braised hairtail, Xin Xiao had already walked a few steps, but suddenly stopped and turned to look at Tang Yanyan. Tang Yanyan was walking side by side with him, and when he looked over, he happened to see her profile. There was a black mole under the left eye corner, and this familiar face overlapped with the girl in his memory. Little Wolf, this is for you. It's delicious. Little Wolf, if you leave, no one will accompany me to play in the mountains, and I can't bear to leave you. Little Wolf, if they still bully you, come back. I will take care of you. A soft voice sounded in his ears. It was that delicate little girl who always saved the snacks she was reluctant to eat and secretly gave them to him. She smiled as she watched him finish eating, and then they went to play in the mountains together. In fact, he didn't like Tang Yanyan at first, and even scolded her harshly, but she still came to play with him every day. Shun Zhao's face, like an ice cube, melted quietly, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and there was more smile in his eyes. He didn't go looking for Tang Yanyan. This girl had a bad memory since she was a child, and she probably had forgotten him long ago. He would look for her to reminisce after the case was solved. Tang Yanyan felt a gaze and turned her head sharply to meet Xin Zhao's eyes. She examined the man critically. His height, face, and figure were all perfect, completely meeting her requirements. He was also a soldier, but now nothing was more important than eating meat.
What are you looking at?
Tang Yanyan glared at him, smiling so seductively. Maybe he wanted to her. The smile in Shun Zhao's eyes deepened, and his temper became worse than when he was a child. And his appetite has increased a lot. When he was a child, he was not only picky about food but also ate very little. Shen Xiao looked away and walked back to his seat. Tang Yanyan felt puzzled. For a moment just now, this man looked at her with a look of doting and preference. Could she have seen it right? I guess he's not in the right brain. Tang Yanyan didn't think much about it. She sat down and started to enjoy the food. She wanted to give a 5-star rating to the chef of this restaurant because his cooking skills were amazing. Burp. All the dishes were finished. Even the soup from the braised pork was mixed with rice. Tang Yanyan rolled the last grain of rice in the bowl into her mouth, swallowed it with satisfaction, and then solemnly put down her chopsticks. Really delicious. Chun Xiao looked over here several times, and when he saw the plate that was shinier than a dog's lick, the corners of his mouth raised again. What an appetite. What a good one. Wei Zhongcheng and Zhou Jin looked at each other. They were both experienced people, and Chun Zhao's eyes and appearance showed that he was thinking about love. You have a pretty good taste. The girl eating meat is so beautiful. You won't find anyone prettier than her in the whole city. With this amount of food, most people probably can't afford to feed him. But Xin Xiao would definitely have no problem. With a salary of over 100 a month, plus various task bonuses and subsidies, It would be no problem for him to support 10. Comrade Shin, do you know that girl? Zhou Jin asked after Tang Mianyan left.
Yeah.
Shen Xiao nodded, poured some of the braised pork broth into the rice, mixed it, and it tasted really good. Then, why don't you say hello to that girl? Zhou Jin asked curiously. After a while, Chen Xiao ate very quickly. He finished a bowl of rice in less than 2 minutes and went for another bowl. Zhou Jin and Wei Qingzong looked at each other, becoming even more confused. Judging from the girl's appearance just now, it seemed that she didn't know Shen Xiao. I guess Chen Xiao fell in love with the girl at first sight, and then deliberately said he knew her. I can understand that because they also went through the same thing. After eating and drinking, Tang Nianyan went straight back to Tang Village. When returning the bicycle, she gave her third aunt a pheasant and made a reservation for a Didi bicycle ride for tomorrow. Nianyan, how did you do in the recruitment exam? Third aunt couldn't help asking. In fact, she wanted to ask, a girl goes to the city every day, maybe there is something going on? After all, Qi Guohua has broken off the engagement, and Tang Nianyan is not young anymore, so she has to hurry up and meet him. I haven't taken the exam yet. Tang Nianyan didn't explain. Third aunt wanted to ask more questions, but a young girl came out with red and swollen eyes and a haggard face. Obviously, she had just cried. The girl is Tang Hongxing, the daughter of the team leader. She is a very capable and pretty girl. She is the same age as Tang Wujin and is one of the most outstanding girls in Tang Village. Unfortunately, the person she falls in love with makes the team leader very angry. Hongxing, are you up? I'll cook egg noodles for you. The third aunt didn't bother to ask about Tang Nianyan's gossip and ran to her daughter to ask about her well-being. Last night, the husband and daughter had a big fight. The husband even used violence and slapped his daughter. Hongxing is also stubborn. She has not eaten since last night and refuses to give in. She insists on marrying Xian Chunrong, the son of a landlord from the next village. It can be said that Xian Chunrong is good at everything. He is handsome, smart and capable, good at farm work, and has the ancestral skill of carpentry. The Xian family made their fortune by working as carpenters. But Xian Chunrong had the title of a landlord, which defeated all his advantages. Neither she nor her husband agreed to this marriage. How could she ever have a future if she married a landlord's son? Their whole family will be affected, and their second son, who is in the army, will also be affected in his future promotion. But seeing her daughter's pitiful appearance, the third aunt felt distressed again. She only has one daughter. Although she was not pampered since childhood, she was raised with love and even paid for her daughter to go to junior high school. How could she bear to see her daughter suffer? Mom, I don't want to eat. Tang Hongxing refused in a hoarse voice. She couldn't even swallow dragon meat now. If she couldn't marry Xian Chunrong, what was the point of her living? She also knew her parents' concerns, so she didn't dare to make a fuss, but she didn't want to give in either. Mom, please forgive me for being unfilial. You and Dad should just consider that you raised me in vain. Can you go to the commune and tell them to sever ties with me? Tang Hongxing suddenly knelt down, hugged her third aunt's legs and begged. She really didn't want to miss Xian Chunrong, but also didn't want to bring trouble to her family, so severing ties was the best way. The third aunt stared blankly at her daughter, who was crying sadly. She raised her hand in anger, but her hand stayed in the air for a long time, and she finally couldn't bear to let it go. Are you trying to me and your dad off to death? We've worked hard to raise you for 19 years, and you want to cut off ties with your parents for a man. Are you still a human being? Third aunt was very sad. For a man, she wanted to cut off ties with her parents. How could she raise such a disobedient and unfilial, ungrateful person? At this moment, the third aunt hated Xian Chunrong to death. It was this man who abducted her daughter. Her daughter used to be so obedient, but after she met Xian Chunrong, she became like a possessed person and her parents no longer recognized her.
Mom, I can't live without him.
Just treat me as if I died when I was born, and as if you never raised me. You are confused. No matter how good a man is, can he be as good to you as your parents? Don't say this in front of your dad, or your dad will beat you to death. The third aunt-in-law pressed her daughter's mouth hard and looked around. She was relieved when she didn't see anyone. She pulled her daughter back into the house, as family disgrace should not be made public. Tang Niannian stood up from the corner and picked her ears. She didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the mother and daughter's emotions exploded so quickly that she heard everything she should and shouldn't have heard. Xian Chunrong? This name sounds familiar. She recalled that she was a supporting character in the book and had a relatively important role. Xian Chunrong had a bad background and suffered a lot when she was young. She also suffered severe emotional trauma. Her first love forced her to marry another man because of family opposition, and the girl committed suicide by jumping into the river. Xian Chunrong therefore never married and remained out for her first love. Moreover, relying on his ancestral carpentry skills, Xian Chunrong opened a furniture company after the reform and opening up and later took the company public. He expanded the company and became a wealthy man, expanding beyond Asia and going global. The reason why he is mentioned in the book is because Xian Chunrong is also a friend of the heroine Lu Jinglan. Lu Jinglan's company encountered a crisis, and she borrowed money from Xian Chunrong to overcome the crisis. The two became friends because Lu Jinglan was friends with his first love. After his first love died, Xian Chunrong was heartbroken and lost the will to live. He had a fever of 40 degrees. It was Lu Jinglan who gave him medicine and comforted him all night, which helped him get over his sadness and cheer up again. In Tang Niannian's opinion, the description of the relationship between the two people in the book was a bit ambiguous, a bit like the feeling of a confidant. She didn't know what Xian Chunrong was thinking, but Lu Jinglan definitely had that intention. Otherwise, which girl would be alone in a room with a man and take care of him for a whole night? Even after decades, this behavior is ambiguous enough. Tang Niannian has already confirmed that Lu Jinglan is reborn, so this woman may have known that Xian Chunrong would become a wealthy man in the future, so she made friends with him in advance and wanted to develop him into one of her concubines in the harem. But Xian Chunrong had deep feelings for his first love and only treated her as a friend. But there is still a doubt. Since Lu Jinglan was reborn, she must have known about her first love jumping into the river. Why didn't she stop him?
That Nian Thawin.
This woman probably never thought about saving her first love and only wanted to develop a harem. It's not that she has a petty mind, but Lu Jinglan's bold move in the book is to cultivate a harem. Almost every prominent man has a good impression of her, and they have a close relationship with her. This is not just about good popularity. It doesn't matter, she will break up all the harems in this life. The first one to be demolished is Xian Chunrong. From the house came the sound of Tang Hongxing crying and the scolding of her third aunt-in-law. Tang Niannian pulled a piece of grass from the roadside, put it in her mouth and chewed it, then slowly walked home. The book says that Tang Hongxing jumped into the river in early March. Maybe it happened in the past 2 days, most likely tonight. She should be careful. There was no one at home except Tang Wujin. The idiot actually pried open the window, and when he was about to jump down, Tang Niannian came back. Are you going to see little glasses? Tang Niannian grabbed her. Jujin successfully made her forget He Guoqing's name and only remember little glasses. Let me go. It's none of your business. Tang Wujin struggled desperately, but it was of no avail. In Tang Niannian's hands, she was like a little chicken. Grandma! Tang Niannian screamed, and Tang Wujin was so scared that he turned around and ran into the house. She kicked him again, and kicked him into the house. He slammed the window shut, then took a nail, a hammer, and 2 wooden boards to seal the window. Even if Tang Wujin had wings, he couldn't fly away. Tang Niannian, why don't you just die? You should have died 17 years ago. You let me out, you vicious woman. You just can't bear to see me live a good life. Tang Wujin cursed in the house, and cursed very viciously. But Tang Niannian didn't care. Anyway, she was going to complain to old lady Tang in the evening, and she would add fuel to the fire. She took out a pheasant from the space, plucked the feathers, gutted it, fried the chicken offal with snow mustard, stewed half of the chicken with potatoes, and stewed the other half with mushroom soup. The mushroom spores that were put into the space 2 days ago have grown a lot and are ready to eat. Then use chicken oil to fry a large bowl of green vegetable moss, cook a large pot of rice, and dinner is ready. It was getting dark, and Tang Jujin came back first, picking up a large basket of pig grass and a bundle of firewood. When the little girl got home, she smelled the meat and was very happy. Her life now is happier than that of a god. In the future, she will pick up an extra bundle of firewood every day, otherwise she will not be able to eat the meat. Manjin, why do you cook meat every day? There were voices of envy and jealousy outside. The Tang family has been making people greedy these days. They cook meat every meal. Every time I pass by the Tang family, my mouth is watering. Nian learned hunting skills from my father and went up the mountain to hunt pheasants.
Tang man din et lai hun stili.
What he said was the truth, but no one believed him. Tang Nian, that girl, has never worked since she was a child. She doesn't even pick onions. How can she hunt? No one believes it. Manjin, has your family made a fortune? If there is any way to make a fortune, don't hide it from everyone. Someone joked, and others followed suit. It is 1976 now. Although the reform and opening up has not yet begun, many people have already developed business awareness. Some people will secretly bring their uneaten agricultural products to the city to sell for money. Others will make some snacks and sell them in the city. The intensity of cracking down on speculation is not as strict as before. Many red armbands now turn a blind eye. No, they just work in the fields. How can they make money? Tang Manjin smiled even more honestly. Every word he said was the truth. He only knew how to farm. Raising pigs and chickens and ducks were the business of his wife and mother. How could he make money? Speaking of making money, I know one. Someone suddenly said, and the others urged him to speak quickly. I have a relative from Qingshan village. There is a capable man in their village who got a hand-cranked sock machine. This guy knits socks after work. He can make 5 or 6 pairs in one night and sell them in the city. One pair costs 1 yuan and 1 dime, and he can earn 5 or 6 yuan in one night. So much? Is it true? Of course it's true. My relative is from the same village as him, and this capable man also got 2 sock machines for the villagers. There are now 3 sock machines in their village. Those 3 families are like picking up money every day, and they earn the money for the sock machines in a month. The man who spoke with the antique hand-cranked sock machine had an envious tone. He also wanted a sock machine, but he couldn't afford the capital. How much is a sock machine? Everyone was excited. If they could get one, they could become a millionaire in a year. 138 yuan per machine, and you have to pay in full. My relatives have asked about it, but they don't give credit. Besides, there are not many sock machines, so it's hard to get one. So, expensive? Who can afford so much money? Everyone's excitement suddenly cooled down. Not to mention 138 yuan, they couldn't even afford 38 yuan at home, and they couldn't give credit. Who could afford it? The voices were getting farther and farther away. Everyone just treated this as a topic of conversation and forgot about it. After all, no one could afford 138 yuan, and there was no way to get a sock machine. The people in Qingshan village would definitely give priority to helping the people in their own village. Why would they help the people in Tang village? Tang Nian heard everything. A hand-crank sock machine? There was something to this thing. In her previous life, she had visited the Zhucheng Sock Industry Museum, which contained the history of Zhucheng's sock industry development for hundreds of years. Among them were hand-cranked sock machines from the 1970s. This machine was very inefficient, but it laid a solid foundation for Zhucheng's sock industry. The older generation of Zhucheng people relied on these hand-cranked sock machines to weave socks little by little, driving the economic development of Zhucheng. Tang Nian still remembers that in that year, there was a very powerful person in Zhucheng who improved the hand-crank sock machine, increasing the efficiency by at least twice, and reducing the error rate of socks. The improved sock machine was also exhibited. She was very interested in these machines, so she studied them. The principle was very simple, and she could do it. If she was given a hand-cranked sock machine, she could make it in minutes. Go back and ask where there are scrapped hand-cranked sock machines and try to get dozens of them. Tang Nian also has an idea. She must not be rich alone. and she must drive Tang Village to get rich together. It's not that she is kind, but she knows that the gun hits the bird that sticks out, and the knife stabs the fattest pig. Her family only ate meat for a few days, and there was pink eye in the village. Although she was not afraid, there were other people in the Tang family, and she didn't want to bring trouble to the Tang family because of herself. Therefore, the best way is for everyone to eat meat together and get rich together. Why are you eating meat again? You spendthrift. Old Mrs. Tang started muttering as she entered the room, but before she could finish, she was choked by a $5 bill that Tang Yin took out. I sold 2 rabbits. Only $2.50 each? City people are so smart. If I were to sell them, I would definitely be able to sell them for $3 each. Old Mrs. Tang still felt the pain. She lost 50 cents on 1 rabbit, but 2 rabbits would cost $1, which could buy 20 packs of matches and 10 kilograms of salt. The spendthrift girl was just too generous. Old Mrs. Tang's chattering didn't last long before she was interrupted by Tang Yanyan's cold eyes. The cold eyes made old Mrs. Tang's teeth freeze, and she shut up in dismay. You cooked dry rice again. I'll cook tomorrow. Nian, you don't have to do it. Seeing a large pot of pure dry rice, old Mrs. Tang started muttering again. If she keeps eating like this, she will have to eat up all the gold and silver. How can she live like this? The little girl is too extravagant. She is spoiled by the old man. Grandma, the eldest sister, just jumped out of the window to find Xiao Yanjing. She also said that she will only marry Xiao Yanjing in this life. If he doesn't agree, she will die. Tang Nian exaggerated the complaint and immediately diverted the attention of old Lady Tang. She still wants to escape? What a coward. Let her die. After she dies, I will collect her body. Old Lady Tang ran to the window with a dark face and looked. Sure enough, there were traces of prying, and she ran back and cursed at Tang Wujin's door. If you have the ambition, you should die now. Do you want pesticides or a belt? I'll give it to you. She even dared to threaten her with suicide. What a useless fool. You'd better die now to save yourself from embarrassment for a man. Mom, I've asked Ma the matchmaker to find someone. Su Jinfeng whispered, fearing that her mother-in-law would really force her eldest daughter to death. This evil creature is threatening me with death now. Let her die. I'll just think I raised an ungrateful person. Old Mrs. Tang put her hands on her waist and cursed for a long time. Tang Wujin in the room defended herself a few times, saying that she didn't say those words, but old Mrs. Tang didn't believe it at all and cursed even more fiercely. I'm telling you clearly that it's impossible for you to marry little glasses in this life. Either you listen to my arrangements and get married, or you die. It's your choice. Old Mrs. Tang was still furious and scolded Su Jinfeng. Don't give her food. Let her starve. Su Jinfeng and her husband lowered their heads, not daring to say anything. They also felt that their eldest daughter was too ignorant. Wouldn't it be better for her to just listen to the family's arrangements and get married? Which girl in the village didn't go through this? She was still comparing herself with Tang Nian every day. With her eldest daughter's appearance, she was not even qualified to be Tang Nian's fire-making maid. She really didn't know how big her face was and had no self-awareness at all. Grandma, drink some soup. Tang Nian poured a bowl of chicken soup and handed it to Grandma Tang. The old lady drank it in one gulp. The delicious chicken soup warmed her whole body, and her throat was no longer dry. Too bland. Grandma Tang smacked her lips, a little bit dissatisfied. Rural people have heavy tastes. First, salty dishes take longer to eat, and second, they sweat when working, so eating salt gives them strength. Salt is free, Grandma. You are such a spendthrift. Tang Nian said seriously. She was accused of being a spendthrift every day, and she was holding a grudge. Old Lady Tang was choked for a long time. It was the first time that this girl blocked her mouth. She was speechless. How much is salt per pound, and how much is meat? Can they be the same? You have to spend money to buy them. Tang Nian muttered. Seeing that the old lady was still scolding, she blocked her mouth with a chicken leg. Old Lady Tang took out the chicken leg, but she was reluctant to eat it and wanted to give it back to Tang Nian. No, it's all saliva. Tang Nian was disgusted. She didn't want to eat other people's saliva. Old Lady Tang was a little touched by her granddaughter's filial piety. After hearing this, she became angry again and bit the chicken leg hard, and then she couldn't stop. It smells so good. The old lady gnawed the chicken leg, and even the bones were gnawed into crumbs. To be honest, she had lived for 60 years, and it was the first time she had eaten a chicken leg. When the old man was around, there was no shortage of meat at home, but she was reluctant to eat it. She gave the chicken legs and to the old man and his son, and she only nibbled on the chicken heads, chicken feet, and chicken wings, which were also delicious. But after eating the chicken legs, Old Lady Tang realized that this was meat. Chicken heads, chicken feet, and chicken wings are only nibbled by dogs. Old Lady Tang looked at Tang Nian with a much kinder look. Although this granddaughter was not her own, she was very filial and smart. No wonder the old man said that the family would rely on Nian Nian in the future. After dinner, Su Jinfeng washed the bowls and Tang Nian went outside to walk to digest the food, together with Tang Jujin.
Burp.
Jujin was burping all the way. She ate too much at night. She ate 3 bowls of rice with chicken soup, and she also ate a chicken leg. In the end, she soaked the rice crust in the chicken soup and ate it. The rice crust was bloated in her stomach, so full. What does a horse eat? Tang Nian suddenly asked in Mandarin.
Ah?
Eat grass. Tang Jujin was a little surprised, but he still answered in Mandarin and then looked at the second sister eagerly, wanting to hear what she was going to say. The second sister wouldn't ask her what the horse eats for no reason, right? Second sister? After waiting for a long time, Jujin didn't get any further information and couldn't help asking, completely forgetting that he hadn't had hiccups for a long time. Watch the road. Tang Nian pulled the little girl and almost fell into a mud pit. It rained for several days a few days ago. Although the sun came out for a few days, there were still a few mud pits. Stepping into them was all mud like,
Hey.
I don't have hiccups anymore. The little girl finally found out and jumped up happily. Hiccups are so uncomfortable, but how could her hiccups suddenly get better? Second sister, did you cure it? Can you get better by asking what the horse eats? Jujin's little brain is very smart, and he figured it out at once. It was the second sister who asked just now, and she stopped hiccuping after she answered. Yeah. Tang Nian nodded and couldn't help pinching the little girl's face. It was chubby and felt very good to pinch. Second sister, why can horses be cured by eating anything? The little girl asked all the way like 100,000 whys, and Tang Nian was impatient. She didn't know why, but it could be cured anyway. This method was when she was on a business trip in her previous life, and she suddenly had hiccups. A female operator suddenly asked what horses eat, and she subconsciously answered that they eat grass, and then the hiccups were cured. The female operator couldn't explain the reason clearly, saying that this was how she treated it in her hometown, and it worked every time. After that, Tang Nian also treated other people, and it worked only when she asked suddenly and she didn't know the principle. The author has tried this method dozens of times, and it works every time. You must ask suddenly, and you must say eat grass in Mandarin. Tang Nian took out an apple to make the little girl shut up. The apples were collected by her in her previous life, and her space can keep them fresh, but there are not many apples left, and a lot of them have been consumed in the 3 years of the end of the world. Second sister, what is this? It's delicious. Tang Jujin took a bite curiously. It tasted sour and sweet. It tastes much better than the wild fruits on the mountain. She has never eaten such delicious fruits. It tastes much better than the small fruits bought by her uncle and second uncle. Apple. Tang Nian took out a red Fuji apple, which weighed half a pound. Nowadays, apples are basically not big and cannot compare with hers. It's expensive, right? Second sister, you eat it. The little girl was reluctant to eat it and stood on tiptoe to feed it to Tang Nian. I've eaten it, you eat it. Tang Nian refused. She was not used to eating things that others had eaten, so she hated hot pot the most. In her opinion, eating hot pot with a table of people is like eating each other's saliva. However, the little girl Tang Jujin thought that her second sister was reluctant to eat it herself and saved it for her. She was very touched and secretly vowed that when she grew up, She must make a lot of money and buy a lot of delicious food for her second sister. It was already dark, and the moon was bright. The bright moonlight shone on the path, which was hazy, as if covered by a layer of gauze. From time to time, a few dogs came out, but they didn't bark. The dogs in the village were very smart, and they knew the villagers. They would only bark when they saw strangers. Second sister, where are we going? Tang Jujin had finished eating the apple, and her teeth were a little frozen. It was very cold at night in March, and she wanted to go home and warm herself by the fire. Let's go to the river to see if there are any big fish. Tang Yanyan walked towards the river. Maybe Tang Hongxing would jump into the river tonight, so she went to explore the terrain first. The river in Tang village is not wide, but the water is a bit deep. There is a lot of rain in spring, the river level rises, and the water is turbulent. The river water in early spring can freeze bones. When Tang Jujin heard that there was a big fish, his eyes sparkled, and he followed obediently. The sound of rushing water could be heard from afar, which was very nice, and there was a fresh water vapor. Tang Nianyan stood by the river, motionless, listening to the sound of water. There is no such a quiet and clear river in the end of the world. The animals and plants in the river have mutated. The river, which seems calm on the surface, is actually dangerous. Even people with superpowers dare not stand by the river. The cold wind blew over. Tang Jujin shrank his neck, looked up at his second sister, and wanted to say that she would not eat big fish, so she should go home and roast the fire. But at this moment, the second sister seemed a little sad. The little girl didn't understand why the second sister was sad. She was so happy to eat meat every day these days. The little girl didn't say anything, shrank her neck to accompany her second sister, and 2 clear streams flowed from her nasal tube. Tang Nianyan opened her eyes. She heard footsteps and pulled the little girl to hide. After a few minutes, Tang Hongxing stumbled over with tears on her face. She had just had another argument with her father. Her father said that she would either die or marry the man he arranged. She only has these 2 ways, no choice. She doesn't want to marry anyone except Chuanrong. Tang Hongxing was heartbroken, and her face was filled with despair. Her father was a man of his word and said that he would marry her off in a few days. She could only die. Chuanrong, I'll be your wife in the next life. Tang Hongxing resolutely jumped into the river, and with a thud, she sank into the water. Second sister, there's a big fish. Tang Jujin kept her head down. The wind was so cold in her neck that she could avoid the wind by lowering her head. So she didn't see Tang Hongxing. She only heard the sound of water splashing. She thought it was a big fish. She jumped out of the grass in surprise, ran a few steps, and came back to pull Tang Nianyan. Second sister, hurry up, the big fish is going to run away. Tang Jujin's little paws were icy cold, but very strong. The 2 sisters walked to the river. There was a big ripple on the water. Tang Jujin's eyes suddenly lit up, but then dimmed again. She was worried about how to catch such a big fish. The water was so cold that she jumped in to catch frozen bones. The little girl was so anxious that she scratched her head. She should have brought the fishing net earlier. Second sister, I'll go home to get the net. The little girl was about to run when she saw her dear second sister, who took out a fishing net like a magic trick. Wow, second sister, cast the net quickly. The big fish is going to run away. Jujin didn't think about it carefully. How did the second sister hide such a big net on her body? She was just worried that the big fish would run away. Tang Nianyan took a horse stance, got into position, and used all the energy in her dantian to cast the fishing net like a flower, which fell on the water. It was absolutely impossible for her to jump into the water to save people. It was too cold. So she had prepared the fishing net long ago. Tang Nianyan pulled the net down, which was heavy, and dragged it up. Tang Jujin also came to help. Second sister, it's at least 100 kilograms, and it can be eaten for a year if it is dried into fish. The little girl stuck out her, bared her teeth, and used all her strength. She was so happy. The heavier the net, the bigger the fish. Finally, the net was dragged ashore. In the dim moonlight, only a large black mass of fish and some lively fish and shrimps could be seen in the net. Eugene was impatient and hurriedly pulled the net open to catch the big fish. Tang Nianyan did not stop her. This was the first life lesson she taught the little girl. Curiosity kills the cat. Big fish, dry the fish. Eugene hummed a tuneless song while pulling the fishing net. She didn't feel cold, even though her clothes were wet. Her heart was burning. Finally, the net was pulled open. Tang Hongxing was covered with a lot of water plants and lay motionless. The excited Eugene didn't notice anything wrong and went to take the water plants from the big fish. Finally, the little girl's claws touched the big fish. The cold and soft touch made her stop. How come the big fish has no scales? Why does it feel like a human? Although Eugene was a little scared, the child was brave enough to turn the big fish over. Tang Hongxing's face was pale in the moonlight, like a dead person. Oh my God. Second sister. Eugene was so scared that his hair stood up. He jumped onto Tang Nianyan flexibly, hugged her neck tightly, and his body trembled constantly. Tang Nianyan's mouth curled up slightly. Children are so fun. She didn't feel guilty. Anyway, Tang Eugene was so brave that he even dared to go into a grave mound, so it was nothing to worry about. Sure enough, after a while, Tang Eugene secretly glanced at the person on the ground.
Come down.
Tang Nianyan pushed the little girl away with disgust. Eugene curled his lips and slid down by himself, holding on to the hem of his second sister's clothes tightly. From time to time, he glanced at Tang Hongxing a few times, and the more he looked at her, the more familiar she looked. Sister Hongxing? Second sister, it's Sister Hongxing. Tang Eugene finally recognized her and was no longer afraid. He ran over and probed under Tang Hongxing's nose and exclaimed in surprise, Second sister, she's still breathing. Tang Nianyan pressed Tang Hongxing's stomach, and the girl spit out a few mouthfuls of water, and her breathing became stronger. Go call third uncle and third aunt.
Hey.
Tang Eugene ran away. The little girl was very smart and didn't make a fuss. She ran to the captain's house and told him about it. Third uncle, sister, Hongxing jumped into the river. The captain, who was washing his feet, was so scared that he knocked over the footbath and water flowed all over the floor. Third aunt was sewing shoe soles and was so frightened that her hand was pierced by a needle. Blood beads came out. She didn't bother to wipe it and rushed to her daughter's room. Sure enough, it was empty and the quilt was neatly folded. Onxing. Third aunt screamed and ran out in a daze. She was grabbed by the captain and scolded in a deep voice. Do you want the whole village to know that Hongxing jumped into the river? Jumping into the river is not a glorious thing. If people knew that their daughter wanted to commit suicide for a landlord's son, which man would dare to marry her in the future? Third aunt covered her mouth tightly and cried silently. The captain and his wife and Tang Eugene ran to the river. On the way, they met Tang Nianyan, who was carrying Tang Hongxing back.
Tang Nianyan didn't want to be so kind.
The wind was too strong by the river, and Tang Hongxing was soaked. If she didn't bring her back, she was afraid that she would freeze to death. Seeing her daughter soaked, the third aunt cried even harder, and the captain's face was also very ugly. He didn't expect his daughter to be so fierce. He felt sorry for her suffering and was even more angry that his daughter wanted to die for the landlord's son. After returning home, the third aunt took off her daughter's wet clothes, wrapped her tightly with a thick quilt, and went to boil and brown sugar water. She cut the into thin strips, added 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and boiled 3 bowls of thick water. Drink it while it's hot. The third aunt brought it over and handed it to the 2 sisters. She also brought another bowl and fed it to her daughter. Tang Hongxing had woken up. Her eyes were dull. Her expression was wooden, like a wooden man. If she couldn't marry Brother Chunrong, what was the point of her living? The captain was smoking. After he got home, he tore up the calendar paper, wrapped the cigarette in it, and smoked. The smoke enveloped him completely. The room was full of smoke, choking people to death. At this time, there is basically no self-consciousness in rural areas to go out to smoke. Even if there are pregnant women at home, many people smoke without taboo. Tang Nianyan covered her nose and said to the captain, "Third uncle, You go outside to smoke. It will choke your throat. She must not wrong herself. The captain was stunned for a moment, looking stunned. The little girl actually asked him to go outside to smoke.
How dare she?
But facing Tang Nianyan's cold eyes, the captain subconsciously got up and went outside honestly. After smoking the cigarette in the north wind, the anger in his heart also magically disappeared. Tang Hongxing finished a big bowl of soup, and her face looked better. Third aunt hugged her and cried. What are you crying for? You shameless thing. You are trying to kill yourself for a man. I worked hard to raise you for 19 years, and this is how you repay me and your mother? The captain walked into the room with a dark face, pointing at Tang Hongxing and cursing in a low voice. Tang, Jujin shrank her neck. Third uncle was much more fierce than her father. She slowly retreated to the side of her second sister. She felt safer next to her second sister. Don't think you can threaten me by jumping into the river. Xian Chunrong, you will never get married in this life. Your second brother is in the army, and your eldest and third brothers work in the city. Do you want to make the whole family suffer with you? The captain was very angry. He also felt sorry for his daughter, but he had to consider his sons and grandsons. Marrying a landlord would inevitably affect his sons and grandsons' future. He could not be soft-hearted and hurt the whole family. Dad, please help me. Severing the relationship will not bring trouble to my second and third brothers. Tang Hongxing begged with tears. She did not want to bring trouble to her family, so she could sign the letter of severance. But she would still be filial to her parents. In your heart, Xian Chunrong is more important than your parents, brothers and nephews? For him, you're going to disown all your relatives? The captain's eyes were red, and he felt very painful. A family is not as good as a man. His daughter's elbow has completely turned outward. Dad, I will be filial. I just want to live with Brother Chunrong. He doesn't want to be a landlord. Dad, didn't you praise Brother Chunrong before? Tang Hongxing felt very painful. She just wanted to be with the person she loved. Why did everyone oppose her? No matter how capable he is, he can't be a landlord. The captain refused sternly. He would never agree. Xian Chunrong was indeed a capable young man, but who made him unlucky? The hat of landlord was like a mountain. Whoever was with him would be crushed to death and would never be able to turn over. Hongxing, don't be confused. If you marry Xian Chunrong, you'll have a hard life. The third aunt cried and advised. I'm not afraid of suffering. I'm willing to suffer with him. Tang Hongxing wiped her tears vigorously. As long as she can be with the one she loves, suffering is sweet. Second sister, why does Sister Hongxing have to suffer? Tang Jujin asked in a low voice. The little girl couldn't figure it out. What's so good about bitterness? She didn't want to eat it at all. She just wanted to eat meat and candy. Love makes people blind. Tang Nianyan blurted out. At present, Tang Hongxing is a patient with late-stage love brain. Although Xian Chunrong became successful in the book, at present, the captain's decision was correct. Marrying Xian Chunrong is like a free and good citizen in ancient times who has to marry a criminal. The children born in the future will also be criminal slaves and will never be able to turn over. Normal people with a little brain will not make such a stupid choice. If it weren't for the purpose of destroying Lu Jinglan's harem, Tang Nianyan would never care about the life and death of this kind of love brain. If she wants to jump into the river, she can jump. Uncle San. Tang Nianyan called the team leader out and said sincerely, Sister Hongxing is stubborn, blind, and stupid. Unless you tie her up every day, she will jump into the river again. Let her jump. Am I afraid of her? The team leader's face turned black, and his tone was very aggressive. Uncle San, don't say angry words. You will be upset if something really happens. Tang Nianyan was too lazy to listen to such angry words. If Tang Hongxing really died, the team leader would be heartbroken. The team leader did not refute, but his expression was helpless. Uncle San, don't find someone for Sister Hongxing yet. Wait until mid-October. There will be good news. Tang Nianyan couldn't remember the exact date, but remembered that it was mid-October. The country would announce the downfall of the 4 people the resumption of the college entrance examination next year, and reform and opening up the year after next. The year after that would issue a document to remove the landlord and rich peasant hats. From then on, there would be no difference in class background. If Tang Hongxing and Xian Chunrong really had a heart-to-heart and a love that was stronger than gold, then they would wait for 3 years. What good news can there be in October? The captain was full of doubts. How could this miserable life be sweet? The secret cannot be revealed. Anyway, it is great news. Tang Niannian kept the secret and said, "It is good news related to the peace and prosperity of the country and the people. Third uncle, believe me, I am not the Tang Niannian of the past."
What are you talking about?
Don't say these things in the future. The captain became more and more confused and glared at her unhappily. This girl acted like a blind fortune teller. If someone caught her and said that she was feudal and superstitious, there would be big trouble again. There will be big things in September, and there will be good news that will be celebrated by the whole world in mid-October. Third uncle, remember it. Tang Niannian emphasized and told Tang Jujin to go home. Although the captain didn't care, Tang Niannian said it several times, which left a mark in his mind. He was still thinking about it when he went to bed. There's a big event in September, and everyone celebrates in October? What does Nian Nian want to say? Can't she say it all at once? The captain leaned against the bed and muttered to himself. He felt so uncomfortable with this matter hanging in his heart, and he couldn't sleep. Third aunt couldn't sleep either. She was worried about her daughter. Don't look for Hongxing for the time being. At worst, she won't get married, and we will support her. Third aunt racked her brains and came up with a solution. She would just support her daughter for life. It's better for others to laugh at her than for her to commit suicide.
Yeah.
The captain responded sullenly. He also planned to do so. And for some reason, he actually felt that what Tang Nian Nian said would really come true. Sleep, I'll send Nian Nian a basket of eggs tomorrow. Thanks to her and Jiu Jin's greedy fishing, otherwise Hongxing. Third aunt sighed. Now she was scared when she thought about it. Fortunately, Nian Nian was greedy and ran to the river to cast a net in the middle of the night. Otherwise her daughter would definitely die. From this point of view, greed has its advantages.
Send more.
The captain instructed. This was a life-saving favor, and he should be rewarded handsomely.
Got it.
Third aunt yawned, but she didn't sleep. She got out of bed and went to the next room. Tang Hongxing was still awake, so she chatted with her for a while before coming back to sleep. The next morning, third aunt came over with a basket of eggs. Tang Niannian was still sleeping. Old Mrs. Tang was making breakfast. She cooked sweet potato porridge, fried snow-red eggs, and stir-fried green vegetables. Second aunt, give the eggs to Nian Nian and Jujin. Third aunt put down the full basket of eggs. There were at least 50 of them, and a bag of brown sugar, at least 1 pound. This gift was very generous in the countryside, and Old Lady Tang was a little flattered. What are you doing? Why are you giving me something for a festival? Take it back. Although Old Lady Tang was jealous, she still pushed the things back. It's for Nian Nian and Jiu Jin. Thanks to them last night. When third aunt saw the old lady's look, she knew that the 2 girls didn't tell anyone when they went home, and she felt more relieved. When Tang Nian Nian left last night, she said that she would not tell anyone about this. The 2 children were very tight-lipped. She told Old Lady Tang about what happened last night. There was no need to hide it from her family, and third aunt also wanted to hear Old Lady Tang's opinion. She was very upset now. No wonder her clothes were wet when she came back last night. She didn't say anything when I asked her. Why is Hongxing so confused? Ba. Fortunately, nothing happened. Old Lady Tang was shocked and scolded Tang Nian Nian in her heart. She dared to jump into the river to save people. What if something happened? Although Tang Hongxing is her niece's granddaughter, there is still a gap between them. If Old Lady Tang were present, she would definitely stop them. Don't rush to do such a dangerous thing. Hongxing is too stubborn. Don't show her a man. Anyway, she is not very old. Keep her at home for 2 years until her energy fades away. Old Lady Tang thought for a while and said, Xian Chunrong is not young anymore. He will definitely not be able to wait for 2 years. When he marries someone else, Hongxing will give up. Old Tang, and I think so too. Alas, children are debts. Third aunt sighed. In just a few days, half of her hair turned white. Think about it more positively. Children are here to collect debts. Hongxing is a good girl except for her stubbornness. She is much better than the idiot Wu Jin in my family. Old Lady Tang thought of the idiot at home and became worried. Although Xian Chunrong is a landlord's son, he is smart, capable, and good-looking. Little Glasses is a thief with no good bones. If Old Lady Tang really has to choose between the two, forget it. Let the stupid granddaughter become a nun. Neither of them is a good match. Third aunt was miraculously comforted. When she entered the house, she saw that Tang Wujin's house was locked with 2 locks and the back window was sealed. It was obvious that Tang Wujin had also made trouble at home. Thinking of this, her daughter seemed to be better than Tang Wujin. It was dawn. Tang Nian got up yawning. She had to go to the Red Star factory to deliver goods at 8 o'clock.
It would take an hour to ride there by bike.
It was 6 o'clock now, and it was not even bright. What did you and Eugene do last night? Old Mrs. Tang came over quietly like a thief, her voice cold and sour. I cast the nets by the river, but unfortunately there were no big fish. Tang Nian was brushing her teeth. Her mouth was full of toothpaste foam, her speech was unclear, and her tone was regretful. All the fish and shrimps caught last night were small fish and shrimps, and the largest one was only the size of a palm of Christian carp, which could only be boiled into soup. She wanted to eat big fish. Fish head tofu soup, chopped pepper fish head, boiled fish, pickled fish, braised fish. Just thinking about it, Tang Nian's mouth was full of saliva. Tell the truth, you are so bold. You dare to save people in such deep water? If you are dragged away by the water monkey, you will lose your life. Old Mrs. Tang cursed with gritted teeth and wanted to slap her a few more times, but Tang Nian was flexible and dodged. Still hiding? I think you just feel itchy after not being spanked for a few days, so you're making trouble by yourself, and you dragged Eugene to make trouble. Where can you cry if something happens? Old Mrs. Tang chased and beat her. Every time when she was about to hit her, Tang Nian twisted her waist and dodged. Grandma, I want to eat fish soup. Tang Nian was very dissatisfied when she saw the watery dishes on the table. Why didn't you cook the fish from last night? Eat your head. Old Mrs. Tang rolled her eyes in annoyance. Eating fish soup early in the morning, do you think you are a god? Then fry a few eggs? So many eggs will go bad if you don't eat them. Tang Nian pointed to a basket of eggs on the ground, at least 40 or 50. Why are you so greedy? Isn't this an egg? Although Mrs. Tang cursed, she still took an egg and prepared to fry it. After all, it was the reward for the dead girl's rescue. Tang Nian grabbed a few more eggs and put them on the stove. Mrs. Tang was so angry that she wanted to curse again, but as soon as she opened her mouth, a piece of cake was stuffed in. I want to eat soft-boiled eggs. Tang Nian stood by the stove and waited, staring at the pot. She hadn't eaten soft-boiled eggs for a long time and was so greedy. After swallowing the egg cake in her mouth, Mrs. Tang's anger was also eliminated by the sweet food. She bit her back teeth and cursed, "You have so many tricks to eat an egg. Who dares to marry you in the future if you are so greedy?" Tang Nian pretended not to hear it. The old lady was a chatterbox. Unless her mouth was sealed with tape, she would chatter from morning to night. Her ears would automatically block it. The breakfast at the Tang family was exceptionally luxurious that day. Everyone had an omelette, while Tang Nian and Eugene had 2. Tang Nian's were all soft-boiled eggs. The yolk flowed out when poked with chopsticks, which looked very tempting. Mom, why are you frying so many eggs? Su Jinfeng was shocked. She didn't eat so many eggs even when she was in confinement. Eat your eggs. Old Mrs. Tang glared and lowered her head to eat eggs. She was still in pain. She must have been confused by the dead girl's egg cake just now. This is a sugar-coated bullet. No wonder the radio said every day that we should be wary of sugar-coated bullets. If we are not careful, we will be caught. She has been vigilant all her life, but she was tricked by the dead girl. Frying 7 eggs at a time, Even the emperor would not live like this. Tang Nianyan drank a bowl of sweet potato porridge and ate 2 soft-boiled eggs. Her whole body was warm, so she went to the captain's house to get a bicycle and went into the city. What do you do in the city every day? Old Mrs. Tang said dissatisfiedly. People in the village were gossiping, saying that Nian had a boyfriend in the city and that the man was ugly, old, and a widower. These rumors must have come from the Qi family. Old Lady Tang could guess it with her feet, but it was a pity that she didn't catch them on the spot. Otherwise, she would have torn the shameless mouth of this family. Serious business. What serious business can you have? Don't go to the city all day. The Qi family is watching you. Don't let people talk about you. Old Lady Tang sneered, not believing it at all. Her granddaughter is not good at anything, and she is the #1 laziness. However, she has behaved a lot better these days, but the deep-rooted impression of the past 17 years makes it impossible for the old lady to change it for a while. The Qi family will be in trouble soon. Tang Nian snorted coldly, and she would take action when she returned from the city. The good days of Qi Guohua and Yang Hongling began to count down. Old Mrs. Tang rolled her eyes and was too lazy to argue. Qi Guohua and Yang Hongling had obtained their marriage certificate and would be promoted soon. Their lives would only get better and better. How could they be unlucky? Tang Nian went out with a backpack on her back and met many villagers on the way. Nian is going to the city again? Has Nian girl found a partner in the city? What does she do?
How old is she?
Everyone asked at once. Some were really concerned, while others were just looking for fun. I came to the city to do big things. I'm not in a hurry to find a partner. Most men are not worthy of me. Tang Nian's tone was very arrogant. She would not consider finding a partner for the time being. Even if she wanted to find one, she had to at least look like the soldier from yesterday. A handsome and cold face appeared in her mind. It was Shun Xiao whom she bumped into in the restaurant yesterday. He was really handsome and had a good figure. His waist and legs were absolutely top-notch. After she left, the villagers all laughed and felt that Tang Nian was too ignorant of herself. Even if she is pretty, she is just a country girl after all. How can she find a city cadre? Daydreaming. Tang Nian went to the captain's house to get a bicycle. An hour later, she arrived at the Red Star factory and went straight to the director's office. Director Wu came early in the morning and was restless, looking at the time from time to time. Although he didn't believe that the yellow-haired girl really had that ability, he still had some expectations. What if? If she could really accomplish it, he could severely slap Director Qian's annoying pig kidney face. After waiting from 7 to 8 o'clock, Director Wu couldn't sit still anymore and asked his secretary to call Tang Manin. Where is your niece? She went home and doesn't live with me. Tang Manin answered truthfully, sitting on the chair with her sticking up most of the side, trembling. She's not in the city? Director Wu raised his voice unconsciously. How could there be an 8th-level fitter in the countryside? Even if there was an 8th-level fitter in Jucheng, it must be in the city. He also suspected that Tang Nian had connections in Shanghai, and it was possible that she had rushed to Shanghai overnight to process parts, but he never expected that this girl would go back to the countryside?
No.
Not here. Tang Manin's forehead was covered with sweat, and his legs were shaking. He was worried about losing his job. He shouldn't have been so obsessed as to bring his niece to see the factory director yesterday. God bless the factory director not to vent his anger on him. Tang Manin sat there in fear and trepidation. Director Wu's mood changed from expectation to disappointment, and then to self-mockery. He actually believed in a yellow-haired girl. Can you find an 8th-level fitter? He is a big factory director, but he was fooled by a little girl. Director Wu sneered, got up and prepared to go to the workshop to check on Master's progress, when there was a knock on the door. Director, Comrade Tang is here. The secretary pushed open the door and said, let her in. Director Wu sat down, intending to listen to how this girl was going to get away with it. Tang Nian walked in, calmly put down the backpack, took out the cloth bag from it, and opened it, revealing 10 shiny parts. Director Wu, let someone inspect it. Director Wu stared at the parts on the table. Before he became the director, he had worked in the workshop for more than 10 years. These parts were so beautiful that he could tell the difference even without using any measuring tools. Secretary Lee, call Master Su. Director Wu's breathing became rapid. Master Su was the highest level quality inspector in the factory. 5 minutes later, Master Su came with tools. He checked one by one. The office was very quiet and no one disturbed him. 10 minutes later, Master Su put down the tools and parts and said in surprise, Director, who processed these? The precision is completely up to standard, better than Master S. All of them are up to standard? Director Wu suppressed his ecstasy and asked carefully, fearing that it was just false joy. Yes, the precision of each one is the same, not a single mistake. This master's hands are too steady, definitely above level 7. Master Su was very excited. He had been doing quality inspection for 30 years, and his eyes were his ruler. He would never make a mistake. The master who processed this batch of parts must be at least level 7 and possibly level 8. Everyone in the office took a breath. Tang Manin stared at her niece, her heart burning. This girl really knows a master chef. Where did she know him? Director Wu, do you believe me now?
Tang Yanyan asked.
I believe you. I was rude before. Comrade Xiao Tang, please take a seat. Secretary Li will make tea. Director Wu's attitude changed drastically. He was arrogant before, but now he was a bit flattering. He wanted to use Tang Niannian to dig the mysterious 7th level master to the factory to guard the factory. As long as the Red Star factory has a 7th level fitter, the Tianjin factory will never win again. Comrade Xiao Tang, who is this 7th level master to you? Director Wu asked amiably. More than one. Tang Niannian's expression was unfathomable. She could also be a 7th level lathe operator or a 7th level electrician. Hiss. Everyone took a breath again. More than one? Although the 7th level is not as powerful as the 8th level, it is not a cabbage. How can this girl know so many 7th level masters? Comrade Xiao Tang, do you know several level 7 fitters? Director Wu's eyes were about to light up. If all of them came to work in his factory, his Red Star would definitely dominate Jiangnan. There are also lathe operators and electricians. If Director Wu has a high-precision workpiece task, I can help. It will definitely be fast and good. Tang Niannian was a little reserved and only mentioned lathe operators and electricians. He was afraid of scaring these people if he said too much. Director Wu swallowed hard and asked excitedly, There are also level 7 lathe operators and level 7 electricians? Yes. Tang Niannian nodded. Comrade Xiao Tang, can they come to work in Red Star? The salary and benefits are definitely the highest in the city. Director Wu promised. As long as there are level 7 masters, he can strive for more high-precision production tasks. In the future, when he goes to the city for meetings, he will definitely be the best director in the whole meeting. It's not convenient for them to come to work, but they can help with the work. Tang Niannian refused. Director Wu was a little disappointed and asked several times. Tang Niannian was very determined and said that she could help with the work, but would not come to work. Comrade Xiao Tang, if you don't come to work, it will be difficult to get the salary and bonus. It's easy. The director can give me a position, give me the salary and bonus, and I will pass it on to them. Tang Niannian came up with an idea. She had thought it through on the way. Since the villagers spread gossip, she would take a stable job back. Old Mrs. Tang would probably be able to show off for half a month. But I can't report to work every day, and I only process high-precision workpieces, and I can also help solve technical problems. Tang Niannian said. Director Wu was a little embarrassed. If he didn't report to work every day, he would still have to pay wages. Others would definitely have opinions. But he couldn't bear to part with the 7th level master. Even if he couldn't come to work in the factory, he was still a 7th level master. In the future, if there were any difficult workpieces in the factory, he wouldn't have to worry about it. Comrade Xiao Tang, if you don't report to work every day, your salary will definitely not be paid according to full attendance. Director Wu asked in a negotiating tone. How much? Tang Niannian asked. Level 7 salary is 118 yuan. If you don't come to work, I will give you 98 yuan, and the bonus and benefits will remain unchanged. Director Wu said. Tang Manin took a breath and almost bit his tongue. 98 yuan? Oh my god. He worked so hard for a month and only got 18 yuan, but his niece can earn 98 yuan without coming to work. Is this fair? Director Wu, I'm more than a fitter, I'm a rare technical talent. Tang Nianyan was not satisfied. It was only 98 yuan, she might as well go to Tianjin. I will process this batch of parts, so let's not talk about this. Tang Nianyan planned to go to Tianjin's Director Qian. I heard that he was quite straightforward and should be more generous than Director Wu. Comrade Tang, don't worry. I haven't finished yet. The salary is 98 yuan per month, but every time you overcome a technical problem, you'll get a bonus. The amount is determined according to the difficulty, at least 50. How about it? Director Wu hurriedly changed his words. He was worried that this girl would go to Director Qian. His Tang Manin bit his tongue again, and he could no longer feel the pain. It was completely numb. Okay. Tang Nianyan agreed. She would see if Director Wu was generous at that time. If he was stingy, she would fire him. Director Wu breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, keeping this bodhisattva. This batch of workpieces is not small, Comrade Xiaotang. How can we transport it to you? Put it at the factory gate, and I'll pick it up at 7 o'clock in the evening. Tang Nianyan said the time, but she didn't leave, waiting for Director Wu to say. It's only the beginning of the month, and it stands to reason that this month's salary should be calculated. Fortunately, Director Wu reacted quickly and asked Secretary Li to go through the factory entry procedures for Tang Nianyan, and the work permit was also processed, with Tang Nianyan's name on it. Tang Nianyan had a household registration book and a photo, so it was very smooth to handle it. Her photo was also pasted on the work permit, but she was not yet a formal employee of the Red Star Machinery Factory because it had not been registered with the Labor Bureau. Director Wu said that she would have to wait until next month to apply, and only after the Labor Bureau had filed it could her household registration be transferred to the city. In the future, she would be a city dweller who ate commercial grain. Director Wu explained it in detail to avoid Tang Nianyan's misunderstanding. As long as the salary is not small, it's fine. Tang Nianyan didn't care. She had plenty of food in her space, so it would be fine if she delayed it for a few months. This month, we can only pay 2/3 of the salary, but there will be a bonus for the completion of this batch of workpieces. You and Master will each get half, 50 each. Director Wu smiled. Okay. Tang Nianyan agreed. She followed Secretary Li to the finance office to collect her salary, 63 yuan, a brand new big unity, and 3 1 yuan bills. Tang Manin's eyes were red. He worked hard for half a year, but it was not as good as his niece's 1 month. How could this girl make money so easily? The uncle and nephew walked one after the other. Tang Nianyan had no expression on his face, just like usual. But Tang Manin walked with a fluttering look, as if he was flying in the clouds. Even now he still felt unreal. Is his niece a formal employee now? He had been giving gifts for 5 years, smiling and flattering, but he still hadn't been hired as a regular employee. But his niece had only been in the city for 3 days, and she was already a regular employee, earning 98 yuan a month. The highest paid worker in the workshop was Master, but his niece's salary was not as high as his. Nianyan, where did you get to know the 7th level master? Tang Manin was extremely curious. My classmate introduced me to him. Tang Nianyan blamed everything on her classmate. Her original body had no other channels to get to know outsiders except her classmates. Your classmate is amazing. Tang Manin was extremely envious. Why didn't he meet such a capable classmate when he was studying? Nianyan, do you think? Can you get my second uncle a permanent employee? Tang Manin was extremely embarrassed. As an elder, he had to ask a little girl for help.
No, Hedi.
Tang Nianyan did not refuse. Director Wu was not easy to talk to. She would have to wait until she showed some skills in the future to really impress Director Wu. Nianyan, do you really have a way? Tang Manin was overjoyed. If his niece really helped him get a permanent job, in his heart, his niece would definitely be more important than his son in the future. Yes. Tang Nianyan nodded, and instead of returning to the dormitory, she told Tang Manin, "Don't talk about my affairs in the workshop." When second aunt comes back, ask her to find out if there are any scrapped hand crank sock machines in her factory and how much they are worth if they are sold. Why are you asking about sock machines? What use are they if they are scrapped? Tang Manin was confused for a moment. The scrap machines could only be sold as scrap copper and iron. It would be a waste of money to spend money on that thing. You ask second aunt to ask, it will benefit you. Tang Nianyan's voice became colder, and Tang Manin felt a chill on his back. He didn't dare to ask any more questions and agreed obediently. Let's go. Tang Nianyan left. She was going to the second cotton mill. The security guard said that she would register today. Since she would not report to the Labor Bureau until next month, it would definitely not affect her going to the cotton mill to take the recruitment exam. After the exam is over next Wednesday, the results will be announced in a week at most. If she passed the exam, she would sell the job. Tang Nianyan rode her bike to the second cotton mill. The old man knew her. After all, such a pretty girl was rare. On the second floor of the office building, go directly to the personnel office to sign up. Thank you, old man. Tang Nianyan handed the old man a dozen cigarettes. She had a lot of cigarettes in her space. Doomsday cigarettes were worthless because they couldn't satisfy hunger. Take them back quickly, you girl are too loose. The old man was shocked. He couldn't take so many cigarettes. But Tang Nianyan walked very fast and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The old man smiled and shook his head, lit a cigarette, took a big puff, held it in his mouth for a long time, and then slowly exhaled the smoke, looking very satisfied. The old man collected the remaining cigarettes and kept them for later smoking. Tang Nianyan found the personnel office. There were already people signing up in the office. They were all young men and women, and they looked well-dressed and from well-off families. Sign up. Tang Nianyan took out her household registration booklet, photos, and high school diploma. Who asked you to sign up? The middle-aged woman in charge of the registration wore glasses, had a serious face, high cheekbones, and looked difficult to get along with. The woman's surname was Yang, and her name was Yang Aihua. She found it strange that Tang Nianyan had a rural household registration. The second factory did not even announce the recruitment this time, and it was basically an internal relationship. How did this rural girl know about it? My uncle, he works in the Power Supply Bureau. Tang Nianyan made up an uncle casually, and Yang Aihua understood and did not ask any more questions. There are 2 positions to be recruited this time. One has been internally appointed to the daughter of Director Hao of the cotton mill. There are many people vying for the other vacancy, but there is only one vacancy. The factory director did not want to offend anyone, so he simply asked everyone to take the exam. It depends on their ability. Whoever passes the exam will get it. It is normal for people from the Power Supply Bureau to know the news. As a power tiger, all the factories in the city have to respect it. Fill it out and put it here. The exam will be at 9:30 next Wednesday morning. Don't be late. Yang Aihua said. Got it. Tang Nianyan filled out the registration form and left. It was almost noon. Tang Nianyan went to the state-owned restaurant to eat. The braised pork yesterday was so delicious that she wanted to have 2 more servings. Comrade, 2 servings of braised pork, 1 serving of braised pork ribs, and 2 bowls of rice. Tang Nianyan stood at the window to order food. The porridge she had in the morning had all turned into water. After paying, Tang Nianyan was about to go back to her seat to wait, but when she turned around, she bumped into someone again. Looking up, she saw a very handsome face that looked a little familiar. Shun Xiao raised his lips, bent down to pick up the food coupons and money on the ground, stuffed them into Tang Nianyan, and whispered, "Put them here." "Thank you." Tang Nianyan stuffed them into her pocket casually, walked a few steps, and couldn't help but look back, just in time to meet Shin Zhao's eyes. This guy was also looking at her, with more doting and teasing in his eyes. Tang Nianyan pouted. Is this guy interested in her? They met in the restaurant for 2 consecutive days, which was quite fate, but it was a pity that she didn't have time to fall in love now. Otherwise, it would be nice to flirt with this guy. Tang Nianyan turned decisively after glaring at Shin Zhao. The smile in Shin Zhao's eyes deepened. This girl was still as carefree as when she was little, and her temper seemed to be getting worse and worse. "Comrade Shun, have you got the food?" Zhou Jin came over. He had been waiting for a long time, but Shun Zhao's braised pork didn't come. When he came over, he saw this guy staring at the beautiful girl from yesterday. It's not ready yet. Shun Zhao's expression was very calm, and he didn't change his face even when he lied. Zhou Jin didn't believe him. Those who ordered food later than them had already received the food. He guaranteed with the soles of his feet that Comrade Xin Xiao definitely fell in love at first sight with the beautiful girl from yesterday. Tang Nianyan sat for a while, then came over to get the food, and bumped into Xin Xiao again. Here. Xin Xiao handed her a pair of chopsticks. His hands were very beautiful, with distinct joints, slender and strong, like a pianist's hands, but a little darker. Thank you. Tang Nianyan took the chopsticks. She was very satisfied with Shun Xiao holding the other end of the chopsticks. She had many problems. She didn't like others holding the end of the chopsticks for picking up food. She felt uncomfortable. You're welcome. Shun Xiao glanced at her, picked up 2 bowls of food and left. Tang Nianyan also returned to her seat. Just as she sat down, Zhou Jin came over and asked with a smile. Girl, can we share a table? He gave up the seat he had occupied before. Opportunities are created by people. Comrade Xiao Shun is young and shy. As an old comrade, he must create conditions for the younger generation. Okay.
Tang Nian not dead.
There were many guests in the restaurant, and many guests would share tables. She moved some of her dishes over and gave up half of the table. Lil Shun this way. Zhou Jin waved his hand. Xin Xiao was stunned and walked towards him. There are no seats. This girl is kind enough to share the table with us. Zhou Jin explained with a smile. Xin Xiao glanced at him and sat next to Tang Nianyan. Today, there were only 2 of them. They ordered 4 dishes, braised pork, stir-fried vegetables, pickled mustard greens and pork shreds, and a 3 fresh soup. Together with Tang Nianyan's dish, the table was full. Girl, do you work nearby? Zhou Jin was very talkative and very familiar. He asked Tang Nianyan after eating a few bites.
No.
Tang Nianyan's tone was cold. She didn't like talking to strangers, especially when eating meat. Zhou Jin felt her indifference and shut up wisely. He secretly felt that Xin Xiao had fallen in love with an iceberg beauty, and it might be difficult to pursue her. Girl, try our dishes. This pickled mustard greens and pork shreds is very good. The atmosphere at the dinner table was a bit cold. Xin Xiao and Tang Nianyan didn't talk. The air was cold, which seriously affected Zhou Jin's appetite. He could only bite the bullet to warm up the atmosphere. She doesn't eat pickled mustard greens. Xin Xiao suddenly said. He remembered that what Nian Nian hated the most was pickled mustard greens. She would only eat pickled mustard greens when they were used as stuffing, and she would not eat a single bite when they were made into dishes. Tang Nianyan suddenly raised her head and stared at Xin Xiao. How did this guy know that she didn't like snow mustard? Apart from yesterday, today was their second meeting. Although they were obviously strangers, this man acted as if he knew her very well. Tang Nianyan's body suddenly tensed up and her expression became alert. Just now there was some snow vegetables in your pork chops, and you took it out. Chen Xiao explained softly. Tang Nianyan's vigilance dropped a little. There were indeed a few slices of snow vegetable on the braised pork ribs. They might have been stuck on the rice spoon. The man observed it very carefully. She didn't eat the pickled mustard greens and shredded pork, nor did she speak. She just lowered her head to eat. The cold air emanating from her body clearly wrote 2 words, do not disturb. Zhou Jin didn't say anything else. No matter how eloquent he was, he needed someone to support him. Otherwise, he couldn't sing by himself. Tang Nianyan's appetite was as good as ever. After finishing all the food, she got up and left. He didn't even look at Xin Xiao. This girl is hard to chase, Xiao Shen. Why don't you find another one? Zhou Jin advised kindly. She has a bad temper and a cold personality. If you really marry her, won't you treat her like the Empress Dowager?
Eat.
Chen Xiao ignored him, feeling even colder. Zhou Jin sighed softly. This meal froze his teeth, so he would have to go back and have a cup of hot tea to warm himself up. Tang Nianyan went to the grove and slipped into the space to plant crops. The rice seedlings had already been grown. The growth rate of plants in the space was much faster than outside. She found a rice transplanter and planted all the seedlings, covering about 50 acres of land. The water in the fields was brought in from the river by her, and she also attracted a lot of fish and shrimp to raise and eat. After working in the space for an afternoon, it was dark outside. Tang Yanyan took out the truck directly from the space and drove to the Red Star factory. Sure enough, there were several boxes of work pieces piled up at the door. Tang Manin stood at the door, looking around, and his nose was running due to the cold. Director Wu and the workshop director were also waiting for Tang Yanyan. They saw the truck but did not associate it with Tang Yanyan. Director Wu. Tang Yanyan leaned out of the car window and waved. The strong light from the headlights made it impossible for them to open their eyes. Tang Manin squinted, and it took him a long time to recognize his niece. He was shocked. How could this girl know how to drive? Yanyan, when did you learn to drive? Tang Manin ran over and touched the truck curiously. This car was really majestic. A classmate taught me. Tang Yanyan's nonchalant tone made Tang Manin even more envious and jealous. No wonder his father always said that girls are blessed. By going to the city to study, they can meet so many capable classmates, get cheap rice and Dacron cloth, meet a 7th-level master, and even get a truck. If his niece tells him one day that she can fly a plane, Tang Manin thinks he will not be surprised. Director Wu, I've taken the goods away and will deliver them to you at 7 o'clock in the evening 3 days later. Tang Yanyan didn't dare to deliver the goods during the day because her car had no license and was an illegal one. Director Wu nodded excitedly. He now had a more accurate understanding of Tang Yanyan's identity. Those so-called 7th-level master chefs were probably the master chefs of the state-owned factories in Shanghai. They had jobs but wanted to earn extra money outside, so they let Tang Yanyan contact the business. All the things that happened were handled by Tang Yanyan, as it was not convenient for those master chefs to show up. This kind of thing is very normal. He used to work in a workshop and knew that many master craftsmen would go out to earn extra money. As long as it did not affect their main job, the leaders would turn a blind eye even if they knew about it. He is to get along well with Tang Girl. Whether Red Star Factory can become the big brother of Zhucheng in the future depends entirely on this girl. Director Wu asked the workers to load the goods onto the truck. Tang Yanyan jumped into the truck swiftly, started the car, waved at them, turned the car around nimbly, and drove away. This driving skill is better than many experienced drivers. Master Tang, your niece is no ordinary girl. Director Wu sighed. She has such a strong network of contacts at such a young age, and is also very capable. She will definitely have a bright future. The small city of Zhucheng might not be able to hold this girl back. How great can a little girl like her be? She's just brave. Although Tang Manin thought that his niece was quite capable, he still had to be humble in his words. Director Wu smiled, put his hands behind his back, walked away with his feet turned outward, and hummed a little tune. 3 days later, he will be able to slap Director Qian's big face hard. Haha. Tang Yanyan drove directly back to Tang Village. When she was almost at the entrance of the village, she put the car into the space and rode into the village. The dogs at the entrance of the village barked a few times and then stopped because they recognized someone from the same village. Several dogs ran over and wagged their tails enthusiastically at Tang Yanyan, some black, some spotted, some white, and some yellow. Tang Yanyan stopped the car and took out a few cans of dog food from the space. In her previous life, she was in the late stage of food shortage panic disorder and was busy collecting supplies every day. No matter what supplies they were, as long as she saw them, she would put them into the space. The most collected items were all kinds of food, both for humans and dogs. The centenarian was tired of canned dog food, and there was still a lot left in the space, so she often gave it to the dogs in the village. Now she is the dog king of the village. With a single order, she can command all the vicious dogs in the village. Don't steal. Tang Yanyan warned in a low voice, and the dogs lined up obediently. The old dogs, who were known as one of the bullies in the village, were more obedient than the bully dogs in front of her. The bully dogs are really well-behaved. Tang Yanyan opened the can and gave each dog one food. The dogs' eyes lit up with joy and they started eating with a clamor. Woof, woof, woof. It's so delicious. The dogs have no regrets in their lives. If Bai Sui were here, he would be able to translate for Tang Nianyan. The happiness of these dogs at this moment has reached its highest point. Tang Nianyan poured a pile of dog food on the ground. People are not able to eat enough nowadays, so raising a dog basically depends on self-sufficiency, with one meal full and one meal hungry. The dogs quickly finished their cans and went to eat dog food. The dogs formed a circle, eating with big mouthfuls and their tails wagging. Don't eat, or you'll eat in the future. Tang Nianyan squatted down to train the dog. The dogs in the village have a habit of eating. This is a very bad habit and must be changed. Woof woof. Several dogs responded with low barks and wanted to lick Tang Nianyan's hands. This was the dog's way of expressing their affection, so Tang Nianyan quickly backed away. You've eaten. Don't get close to me. Tang Nianyan warned in a low voice. She saw this spotted dog eating the past 2 days.
Ugh.
The spotted dog wagged its tail aggrievedly, its eyes wet. It would not eat anymore. Remember, no eating. Tang Nianyan stood up and rode away on her bike. The villagers were still awake at this time, but not many lights were on as they were reluctant to spend money on electricity. Only a few households had dim lights on, and shadows were dim. Tang Nianyan wanted to go to the captain's house to return the car first, and then go into the city to deliver the goods 3 days later. Have you bought the dishes for the wedding banquet? Guohua said that thrift is an important principle now, so he should set an example himself. We won't have a big banquet, but we'll invite relatives and villagers to a home-cooked meal. A few tables will be enough. It has to be Guohua. People who are cadres have high ideological awareness. I'm not bragging, but my Guohua is 1 in 100. There is no one more outstanding than Guohua in the whole commune. Otherwise, why would Yang Hongling be so eager to marry him? Qi's mother was very proud and boasted about her son. Several other women also praised her. Tang Nianyan stopped and hid behind a tree. In front of them was the Qi family. Qi's mother and several women were talking at the door. Although the Qi family had a bad reputation, there were always some flatterers in the village who rushed to flatter Qi Guohua, hoping to get some glory. My family has never done anything wrong to Tang Nianyan. Her reputation has been ruined, but my Guohua didn't despise her. She was the one who insisted on breaking off the engagement. My family even paid 200 yuan in compensation. Not 100? The other 100 is what your family owes the Tang family? Someone asked in surprise. Anyway, my family paid the money, and Guohua has never done anything wrong to Tang Nianyan. With my Guohua's conditions, he can find any girl. Humph, it will be difficult for Tang Nianyan to get married in the future. She has been touched by all men, and even blind men would not marry her. Qi's mother sneered a few times and was extremely sarcastic to Tang Nianyan. The 200 yuan hurt more than digging out her heart. She and Tang Nianyan will never reconcile in this life. Anyway, her son has already married. Although Yang Hongling is a little ugly, she is a city girl and has connections. In the future, her son will rise to prominence in the army, and her family will be the first in the village. If it were in ancient times, she would be the imperial lady in the opera. Who would dare to disrespect her? Tang Nianyan, this little, will definitely regret it in the future and kneel down in front of her to beg for mercy. She will never forgive her. The more Qi's mother thought about it, the more beautiful it became. It seemed that she had already put on the imperial clothes and accepted Tang Nianyan's kneeling begging for mercy, with a smug smile on her face. Everyone else curled their lips and was too lazy to slap Qi's mother in the face. It was obvious that Tang Nianyan was framed by your Qi family, and Tang Nianyan's reputation was ruined, and Qi Guochuan's reputation was not much better. It was just that Tang Laolu was timid. After being beaten by Qi Guohua, he didn't dare to come to the door to make trouble again. Otherwise, Qi Guochuan's reputation would be even worse. Come to my house for a drink tomorrow. Qi's mother invited enthusiastically, and everyone agreed.
Ouch.
Qi's mother suddenly covered her face, and everyone else was shocked.
Ouch.
Which evildoer threw stones and smashed the nest?
Ouch.
Qi's mother was in so much pain that tears came out of her eyes and blood flowed from the gaps between her fingers covering her mouth. A stone hit her and knocked out her two middle front teeth. Her speech was as limp as that of her daughter-in-law Yang Hongling. In the dark, Tang Niannian clapped her hands and rode away. Qi's mother's curses came from behind, but Tang Niannian pretended not to hear them. She taught the old woman a lesson first, and then taught Qi Guohua a lesson in 2 days. Tang Niannian went to the captain's house to return the car. She didn't bring anything this time. She saved Tang Hongxing, and this great favor was enough to borrow a few $100s to return the car. Niannian, are you not going into the city? The third aunt was washing clothes in the yard and asked curiously. I'll go again in a few days. Tang Niannian took a piece of dried sweet potato from the winnowing basket and ate it. Although third aunt was a little stingy, she loved cleanliness. The dried sweet potato she dried was especially delicious. There were sesame seeds sprinkled on both sides, which was very fragrant. Third aunt, I'll give you sweet potatoes. Can you help me dry them? I'll pay you. Tang Niannian ate a piece and couldn't help but took another piece to chew. It was so delicious. Why do you need to pay for drying some sweet potatoes? Just bring your sweet potatoes here. Third aunt laughed. She thought it was just a matter of drying a few dozen pounds. It was a simple thing for her, so she didn't have the nerve to ask for money. Okay, bring it here in a few days. Tang Niannian agreed. There were still tens of thousands of pounds of sweet potatoes in the space. She took out a few £100 to dry the sweet potatoes. Seeing that she liked it, third aunt washed her hands, went in a house to get a clean cloth, poured all the sweet potatoes in the winnowing basket into it, tied a knot, and asked her to take it home to eat. Thank you, third aunt. Tang Niannian was not polite at all, and walked away with the dried sweet potatoes in her arms. After walking a few steps, she thought for a while, and came back, took out a pheasant from her backpack, and threw it at third aunt's feet. I didn't exchange all of them in the city, and these are the leftovers. Now we can't say buying and selling, we can only say exchanging. Third aunt suddenly realized that this girl went to the city every day to exchange prey. Take it back, quickly. Third aunt picked up the pheasant and chased after her, but Tang Niannian walked very fast and disappeared in a short while. She picked up the pheasant and found it weighed at least 4 or 5 pounds. This girl, she really doesn't want to take advantage of anything. Third aunt smiled and shook her head, but she was still very happy in her heart. She carried the pheasant back to the house, prepared to boil water and kill the chicken, and hung it on the beam to make a dried chicken so that she could have a hard dish when the commune leaders came to inspect the work. Where did the chicken come from? The captain was listening to the radio in the house. The battery was dead, and the sound was as weak as an old lady hanging herself, and you had to put your ear close to the radio to hear it clearly. Niannian gave it to her. She said it was what was left over from exchanging things in the city. This girl didn't take advantage of it at all. The third aunt smiled and talked about the dried sweet potatoes and went to boil water neatly. This girl, the captain smiled and felt more and more that people are really different. They both jumped into the river, but Nian girl was like a different person, but his daughter was still so stupid. Alas. After leaving the captain's house, Tang Niannian did not go home first, but went to the back mountain. He hadn't visited the 2 old people in the cowshed for several days. They should still be alive, right? There was a faint light in the cowshed. There was no electricity on the mountain, and they had no kerosene. What was lit was a torch. Pine oil from the mountain was smeared on branches, which was a simple torch, but the smoke was very large, choking the eyes and throat. Zhang Xueqing leaned over to the torch and read an incomplete newspaper with great interest. There were traces of oil on the newspaper. The date was a few months ago. This newspaper was picked up by Deng Chongqing on the mountain. It might be used to wrap snacks in someone's house. After the snacks were eaten, the wind blew the newspaper to the mountain, and he happened to pick it up. Deng Chongqing could not read many words and had no interest in newspapers, but he knew that Zhang Xueqing liked to read them, so he took them back. Zhang Xueqing was overjoyed. He leaned over to the torch every night to read them. His eyes were red from the smoke, but he was reluctant to move away. Old Zhang, don't read it anymore, you're going to go blind. Deng Chongsheng added some firewood to the fire and couldn't help but advise him. Old Zhang had read this small newspaper hundreds of times. After reading it, he told him that he, who could not read a single word, could recite it by heart. Take another look. Zhang Xueqing didn't even raise his head. He hadn't seen a newspaper for several years. Every day he was either on the farm or in the mountains. He knew nothing about the outside world. He was now blind and didn't know anything. This newspaper was like a window to the outside world, telling him a lot of things. Old Deng, the outside world has changed a lot. Zhang Xueqing's thin face was full of excitement. This was a Zhejiang provincial daily. There were a lot of current affairs on it. Although it was only half a page, he still knew a lot. For example, several speculators in Wuqing next door were arrested, but they were not severely punished. They were only verbally educated and fined a little before being released. Although it seemed like a trivial matter, it explained a very important thing. The world is about to change. Is it really going to change? No way. Deng Chongsheng was half believing and half doubting. Although he comforted old Zhang every day, he was really unsure. There was really no hope for this life. It's absolutely true. Just wait and see. In 3 years at most, the world will be very different. Zhang Xueqing was full of confidence, his eyes sparkling behind his glasses. He was full of strength now. He had always kept those precious data in his mind and recited them every day. Even after so many years, he had not forgotten them. As long as the motherland needed him, he was always ready. Tang Nianyan walked towards the cowshed.
It was dark on the mountain.
No one was going up the mountain at this time, so she could enter the cowshed openly. She made a little noise on purpose, and Deng Chongsheng came out and whispered, "Who?"
Me. Tang Niani an Zponde.
She had already reached the door of the cowshed, and when she saw the conditions inside, she couldn't help but frown. Although she had no sympathy, she still felt a little uncomfortable when she saw such living conditions. Zhang Xueqing and Deng Chongsheng were both people who had contributed to the country, and they shouldn't be treated like this. This cowshed was a shed for raising cattle in Tang village. Later, a temporary thatched house was built for the people sent from above to live in. It was ventilated on all sides and was very damp. The cows next door defecated and urinated, and the smell was very strong. It was cold in winter, smelly in summer, and there were many mosquitoes. Even ghosts would hate such a place. There was not even an oil lamp. The torches stuck on the pillars could blind people. There was also a thin quilt on the bed, which could not keep warm in winter. Fortunately, there was a lot of firewood on the mountain, so as long as the fire kept burning in winter, there was no problem keeping warm. "Girl, what's your name?" Deng Chongsheng couldn't help asking. Thanks to the meat and food sent by this girl, the swelling of his and Lao Zhang's bodies subsided, and their spirits were much better. This kindness must be remembered in our hearts. "Tang Nianyan, Tang Qingshan is my grandfather." Deng Chongsheng was very excited. "You are Tang Qingshan's granddaughter? Haha, I know your grandfather." He had fought the Japanese in Zhucheng and was not familiar with the local terrain. The local guerrillas sent Tang Qingshan to serve as their guide. Later, after the war, he also left his contact information to Tang Qingshan, but he fought everywhere and his address changed frequently, so he lost contact with Tang Qingshan. I didn't expect that the strong man actually had such a beautiful granddaughter. No wonder she was so good at hunting. Did your grandfather ask you to come? Deng Chongsheng thought that his old friend recognized him and asked his granddaughter to come to help. Tang Nianyan shook her head. "My grandfather passed away a few years ago." "How did you get to know him?" Deng Chongsheng looked gloomy, sighed, and talked about the past, praising Tang Qingshan. "Your grandfather is a hero." "Must-us." Tang Nianyan nodded. Although she had never met Grandpa Tang Qingshan, she also worshipped him. The old man was not very educated, but he was brave, righteous, and principled. It was a pity that he died too early, otherwise the Tang family would not have been broken up in the previous life. With Grandpa Tang Qingshan as a bond, Deng Chongsheng's vigilance was completely gone. He was very affectionate to Tang Nianyan, just like his own granddaughter. Here, Tang Nianyan couldn't bear it anymore. She reached into the backpack and took out an oil lamp and a plastic bottle of kerosene from the space. They were all previous stocks. Use this, don't go blind. Tang Nianyan's tone was not very good. She spent so much effort on the investment. She couldn't do a loss-making business. Zhang Xueqing was a big shot in technology, and his eyes must be protected. Deng Chongqing grinned and laughed. He liked this girl's straightforward personality. She spoke as poisonously as her grandfather. It was really interesting. Thank you. Thank you for your kindness, young lady. If I have the opportunity in the future, I will definitely repay you. Zhang Xueqing spoke in a very elegant manner and wanted to bow to Tang Nianyan, but she stopped him. Repayment is a must. I'm not a bodhisattva, and I don't do charity. Tang Nianyan was speaking the truth and her attitude was not good, but Zhang Xueqing and Deng Chongqing felt that this girl was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She was afraid that they would not accept it, so she deliberately said such harsh words. What a good girl with the heart of a bodhisattva. Here. Tang Nianyan glanced at the incomplete newspaper, then reached into the backpack and took out a stack of newspapers stained with a lot of oil. They were left over from wrapping workpieces, daily newspapers, evening newspapers, industrial newspapers, commercial newspapers. Everything you can think of.
I'll give you clean ones next time.
Tang Nianyan felt a little embarrassed after touching her hands with black oil. The newspapers were too dirty to even wipe her. The captain had a lot of newspapers, so she would ask Old Lady Tang to get some tomorrow. These are great. Thank you. Thank you. Zhang Xueqing was so excited that his pupils dilated. He sorted the newspapers as if they were treasures. They were all from this year, so great. Tang Nianyan carefully looked at the complexion of the two old people. The swelling had subsided and they looked fine, but they were still very thin and looked malnourished. With such a body, they might get sick again next month. They must not give Lu Jinglan a chance. Tang Nianyan thought about it, walked out, and came back soon with a cloth bag in her hand, which contained milk powder. The canned milk powder in the space could not be taken out, but could only be poured out. She took out a pheasant, a hare, and a bag of more than 20 kilograms of flour. Her backpack was like a treasure chest, and she could never take out all the things. Zhang Xueqing and Deng Chongqing's eyes were wide open, and they kept saying, "Don't take any more. That's enough." Tang Nianyan ignored them and walked to the stove. The oil can was empty, cleaner than the faces of the two old people. She filled it with peanut oil, and then filled the salt can. "Take care of yourself, don't get sick, and repay me in the future," Tang Nianyan said seriously, and walked away. The two old people looked at the things in the house stupidly, as if they were dreaming that fairies had been sent from the sky to bring them so many supplies. "Old Deng, hide the things." Zhang Xueqing reacted and said that these things must not be discovered by others. They had to be hidden, otherwise it would implicate Nian girl. "Yes, dig a hole." Deng Chongqing took a sickle and dug a hole under the bed, while Zhang Xueqing poured out the soil. The two worked together and soon dug a 1-meter deep hole, padded it with some hay, put everything Tang Nianyan brought in, covered it with wooden boards, and padded it with soil. "You have to eat the milk powder quickly, old Zhang, you eat it." Deng Chongqing smelled the milk powder. It had a strong milky aroma. This was good stuff. "Let's eat together. We must take good care of ourselves and repay you in the future." Zhang Xueqing's eyes were moist. A few days ago, he was still at the bottom of the abyss, dark and gloomy. He had lost faith in this world and didn't even want to live. But now the sun is shining, spring is here, and the flowers are blooming. He must live well. Yes. Deng Chongqing smiled and nodded. Only by living would he have the opportunity to repay his gratitude. He went to boil water. Each of them made a cup of milk powder and drank it while it was hot. The warm and sweet milk warmed their stiff joints and made them feel very comfortable. After the two dealt with the pheasants and hares, they used the remaining hot water to soak their feet. "Old Zhang, burn those newspapers after you finish reading one," Deng Chongqing instructed. "I know." Zhang Xueqing nodded. While soaking his feet, he read the newspaper by the oil lamp. The oil lamp was much brighter than a torch. He was so engrossed in reading that he didn't even notice that the water in the basin had cooled down. Deng Chongqing shook his head, poured hot water for his old friend, and added firewood to the fire. The room became much warmer. Tang Nianyan had already arrived home and heard the old lady Tang scolding from a distance.
Get lost.
I will definitely eat the tofu rice you prepare. I think it's unlucky for a couple to get married. Second aunt, there was a misunderstanding between our two families. We have paid the money and called off the marriage. Guohua and I have always respected you. If your family has any problems in the future, we will definitely do our best to help. I don't care if you are always angry and say bad things. If you are still not angry enough, you can beat me and scold me. Chi's father spoke slowly, and his attitude was particularly good. In comparison, it made old lady Tang look even more arrogant and domineering. Do I need your help? Get out. If you don't get out, don't blame me for being rude. Old lady Tang was furious. She had never seen such a shameless person. He had done so many bad things, and now he pretended to be a good person. The Chi family had said all the good and bad things. He actually had the nerve to invite her and Nian girl to a wedding banquet? Old lady Tang put her hands on her hips, and her short stature blocked the gate of the courtyard, blocking Chi Guohua and his son outside. Grandma, why don't you eat for free? Go tomorrow. Tang Nianyan came over and looked at the father and son coldly. She knew the Chi family's plan very well. Didn't they just want to annoy her? Humph, let the father and son be proud for 2 days, and then they will just cry. Nianyan, I am sincere. Although we can't be together, in my heart, you are just like my sister. Chi Guohua shamelessly performed his deep affection. Tang Nianyan rubbed his arms vigorously and interrupted him. Don't discuss me here. It's just a marriage with Yang Hongling. You made such a fuss. People who don't know would think you married a sow. Don't insult pigs, you little girl. Old Mrs. Tang suddenly interrupted. She learned from her granddaughter. Is Yang Hongling, that, worthy of being compared with a pig? Chi Guohua and his sons' faces darkened, and they suppressed their anger. In the future, their Chi family will only get better and better, while the Tang family will get worse and worse. It is enough for them to show generosity. When people outside talk about it, they will definitely praise the Chi family for being broad-minded and the Tang family for being unreasonable. Grandma, I was wrong.
Tang Nianian apolit sincerely.
It was true that she couldn't insult Juju. She said coldly to Chi Guohua, I will go to congratulate you and Yang Hongling tomorrow. Don't come to my house in the future. You are too dirty. Don't dirty my threshold. Tang Nianyan, don't go too far. Chi Guohua changed his face and glared at him. Nian girl, you are still angry. We don't care if you curse a few times. After all, your brother Guohua will be a cadre in the future. He is not so tolerant. Chi's father said with a fake smile. It sounded like he was comforting Tang Nianyan, but every word was poking people's lungs. Old Mrs. Tang was so angry that she wanted to curse again, but was stopped by Tang Nianyan. You haven't become a cadre yet, but you're almost showing off. You Chi family are too shallow. My Bai Sui has to in a deeper pit. As soon as Tang Nianyan finished speaking, Bai Sui flashed out, raised his legs towards Chi Guohua, and spit a lot. A shallow gully was left on the ground.
Ha ha, ha ha.
Old Mrs. Tang laughed so hard that tears came out, and Tang Jujin laughed too. The laughter of the grandparents and grandchildren broke through the sky and was heard by the whole village. Bai Sui shook his legs, looked at Chi Guohua with contempt, and walked to Tang Nianyan. Chi Guohua's face was pale and blue, and his fists were clenched tightly. He secretly warned himself to be patient. After being promoted, he would be proud. By the way, you will be promoted to platoon leader at most, right? How much is the monthly allowance? About 20. Tang Nianyan sneered, with a look of extreme disdain. She remembered that the book said that when Chi Guohua was promoted for the first time, he was a platoon leader, and his monthly allowance seemed to be 18 yuan. Tang Nianyan, you're a country girl. You're so arrogant. Aren't you afraid of hurting your waist? Chi Guohua sneered coldly. Even if he was just a small platoon leader, he was the first in Tang village. The captain's son Tang Jianjun was also a soldier in the army. Don't be afraid. I get 98 yuan a month. My back is strong. Tang Niannian rolled her eyes and took out her work ID card from the Red Star Machinery Factory from her pocket. On it was her beautiful photo, her name, and her job type special talent. Because her job type was difficult to classify, Director Wu asked the office to write special talent, which means people who specialize in special jobs. Tang Niannian waved her work ID card in front of the father and son several times and said coldly, "Did you see it clearly? This girl gets 98 yuan a month, and you get 20 yuan a month. How dare you show off in my house? You get 98? Impossible, Tang Niannian. Where did you get the fake ID card?" Qi Guohua looked at him as if he was a fool. If Tang Niannian said she was a temporary worker, he would believe it, but this idiot boasted to the sky and said that the salary was 98. How many people in Jucheng can get such a high salary? Qi's father and old lady Tang didn't believe it either, thinking that Tang Niannian was bragging. "Believe it or not, I don't need to explain to you what I did. Get out." Tang Niannian was too lazy to explain. She put away her work permit and glanced at Bai Sui.
Woof. Get out.
Bai Sui bared his fangs and barked angrily. Qi Guohua and his son took several steps back in fear. This dog was more ferocious than a wolf. If they were bitten, their bones might be broken. The father and son left in dismay, still discussing the work permit on the way. It must be fake. Tang Manin is a temporary worker at Hongxing. He must have got the fake certificate. Qi's father sneered, thinking that the Tang family was really stupid. In the future, Tang village will no longer belong to the Tang family, and it will be up to their Qi family to have the final say. Qi Guohua also thought it was impossible and smiled disdainfully. Old Lady Tang from the Tang family was teaching her granddaughter. "You stupid thing, you are so boastful. It would be better for you to get a temporary worker certificate than this. This thing is not believed by dogs." "Really?" Tang Niannian took out the salary she received today from her pocket, and the colorful banknotes blinded everyone's eyes. "This month, only 2/3 is counted. 63 yuan, Grandma. I'll give you 20. Tang Niannian took out 2 big unity bills and stuffed them into Old Lady Tang. She also gave 5 yuan to Su Jinfeng. The original body and the adoptive mother were not very close, but although Su Jinfeng had selfish intentions, her mind was not bad. "Me too? Thank you, Nian. Su Jinfeng couldn't close her mouth, holding the 5 yuan in her hand. She was overjoyed. This was the first time she got so much money since she was a child. "Yours." Tang Niannian took out 2 packs of Dakianmin cigarettes, bought in the county town, and stuffed them into Tang Manjin. Tang Manjin loves to smoke, but he can't afford filter cigarettes, so he grows tobacco leaves on the mountain, dries them, cuts them into shreds, and rolls them with old homework paper. He smokes them with great force, and coughs several times after taking a puff. "This cigarette is good." Tang Manjin grinned and smiled, feeling happier than eating honey. Who else in the village is more blessed than him? He has a daughter who is filial to Dakiamin. Tang Manjin can't wait to open a pack of cigarettes. Take out a cigarette, light it up, take a big puff, hold it in his mouth, and don't want to spit it out, with an expression of great enjoyment. "Second sister?" Tang Jujin looked at it eagerly. Everyone in the family had a share, so what about hers? "Yours." Tang Niannian took out a pack of white rabbit milk candies and gave it to the little girl. "Wow, milk candies. Second sister, I love you so much." The little girl's catchphrase came out again, but her little mouth was really sweet. Tang Niannian's mouth corners turned up. The feeling of feeding the little girl was quite good. "You really work at Red Star? And you're getting paid 98 yuan? Mrs. Tang still couldn't believe it. It was like a dream. How could a little girl like her granddaughter suddenly be noticed by Red Star Factory? And she was paid so much? "I've received my salary. How could it be fake?" Tang Niannian said unhappily. "Then you're going to work tomorrow? Do I have to transfer my household registration to the city?" "I'll transfer my household registration next month, but I won't go to work. I'm a special talent, and I can work flexibly." The Tang family members were confused and asked in unison, "What do special talents do?" "It means I can do things that others can't do." Tang Niannian used a popular explanation, and the Tang family members understood. Tang Manjin's honest face was full of pride. Nian Nian has been smart since she was a child. She will definitely be able to do it well. That's right. Nian Nian always gets 100 in every exam, and there's no one in the whole commune who studies better than her. Su Jinfeng now has a thick filter over Tang Nian Nian, and she doesn't doubt anything she says. A factory as big as the Red Star factory would definitely not pay so much money for no reason, which means that girl Nian has something extraordinary. Su Jinfeng had another plan. When Tang Nian Nian had established herself in the Red Star factory, she would arrange for Wu Jin, Lu Jin, and Ju Jin to have stable jobs. Even if she didn't have a son, she would be able to enjoy a good life in the future. Nian girl, you can't do bad things. Old Mrs. Tang's expression became very serious. She was worried that her granddaughter would go astray. There were many young people in the city who were coaxed into going to the circumcision meeting and did a lot of bad things. She didn't care about other people's children, but the children of the Tang family must not go to the circumcision meeting. Grandma, you will know when you call your second uncle tomorrow. Tang Nian Nian didn't want to explain, so she let her second uncle and the old lady talk. Old Mrs. Tang was relieved. Since the second son knew about this, he would definitely not go astray.
I'll go and fight now.
Old Mrs. Tang was impatient and couldn't wait any longer. She ran to find the team leader in a hurry. The team leader had already gone to bed, but she pulled him down. Second aunt, let me put on my shoes. The team leader stood on the ground barefoot, looking helpless. Xiao San, hurry up. Old Mrs. Tang kept urging him. The captain put on his cloth shoes, took the key, and went to the village committee office. Second aunt, is Manning in trouble? Although old Mrs. Tang had short legs, she ran very fast. The captain had to jog to keep up with her, panting. No, don't ask, I can't count now. Old Mrs. Tang didn't want to chat anymore. Finally, she arrived at the village committee. She took out a piece of paper with the phone number of Tang Manin's dormitory building on it and pressed the numbers one by one. The telephone specialist of the dormitory building answered the phone. He asked the old lady to wait a moment and ran to call someone. Tang Manin, your mother is calling. The voice was very loud and echoed in the dormitory building. Old Mrs. Tang waited anxiously and finally heard the sound of running. Tang Manin also went to bed and ran over in a hurry. Mom, is there something wrong at home? The last time his mother called, it was because his father was dying and asked him to go home to see his father for the last time. What happened this time? Tang Manin's heart was in his throat, and he was sweating anxiously. Second brother, I want to ask you, is Nian Nian working in your factory? 98 yuan a month? The team leader standing next to him was so shocked that he shuddered, thinking that he was hallucinating. 98 yuan a month for Nian girl? How is it possible? Mom, do you know? I tell you, Nian Nian is very capable.
Oh.
It's hard to say on the phone. Anyway, Nian Nian is now a regular employee in the factory and a special talent. The salary. Anyway, it's what you said. Tang Manin looked around. The aunt who answered the phone was far away and didn't hear the voice in the microphone. He put it down, held the microphone and whispered, It's really 98 yuan and there is a bonus. Mom, second brother, really? Old Mrs. Tang's breathing became rapid and her body floated. She felt that she could fly to the sky now. In addition to the 98 yuan salary, there is also a bonus? Could it be that the director of the Red Star factory is Nian Yatu's biological father? It is absolutely true. This time, the factory has a batch of important parts that can only be made by a level 6 master. Nian Nian knows an 8-level master who can easily process them. The factory director said that after this batch of parts is completed, a bonus of 50 yuan will be issued. If there is such a task in the future, the bonus will be at least 50 yuan. Old Mrs. Tang took several deep breaths. If she didn't take a breath, she would really float to the sky. Her feet felt like cotton when she stepped on the ground. She finally experienced the feeling of flying in the clouds. Second brother, how did Nian Nian know a level 7 master? Old Mrs. Tang couldn't figure it out. Her classmate introduced her. Anyway, Nian Yatu is very capable. Mom, you should be nice to Nian Yatu in the future. Our family will rely on Nian Yatu in the future. Tang Manin repeatedly urged that he still expected his niece to help him get a permanent job. I am not a bad person, but I am too vicious. I scold my niece every day. This temper must be changed. When did I treat that girl badly? Okay, I know about it. Don't spread it around, and don't tell your wife too much. Mrs. Tang understood clearly, and she was grounded. She scolded him with full energy and hung up the phone. She stood there, laughing happily. 98 yuan. She's rich. Second aunt, is Nian working? The captain couldn't help asking. Yes, a special talent, 98 per month, and a bonus. Mrs. Tang was very proud. She looked at the captain, who was much taller than her, and suddenly found that the captain was a lot shorter, not taller than her. Xiao San, why are you shrinking? Mrs. Tang was a little disgusted. He hasn't even grown old yet, but he's already shrunk. The captain choked heavily, feeling a little choked up in his heart. It was obviously you who was looking up at the sky, and you still complained that he was shrinking? Second aunt, what class does Nian work in? Why is she paid so much? The captain asked sullenly. His eldest and youngest sons are both temporary workers in the city. The eldest works in the Tianjin machinery factory, and the third works in the county tractor factory. The eldest has worked there for 3 years, and the third has worked there for 2 years, but they haven't been officially hired yet. Nian has only been in the city for a few days. How come she suddenly became a regular worker? And she gets paid so much. He heard that a master chef only gets paid 40 or 50 yuan. Special talents. My Nian can do things that others can't do. Old Mrs. Tang explained with a smile. In fact, she didn't understand what special talents meant, but it didn't stop her from showing off. Nian is really capable. After all, the captain had seen the world, and he understood it as soon as he heard it. It must be Nian who helped Hongxing solve the difficulties. So, Hongxing spent so much money to retain talents. All the good girls are from other families, alas. That's right. My Nian has been blessed since she was young. Old Mrs. Tang agreed very much. She was not saying this nonsense. In the past, there was a Taoist temple on the mountain in the next village. There was an old Taoist priest inside. The old man took Nian to the mountain to see the old Taoist priest. The old Taoist priest said that the girl was blessed. Later, the Taoist temple was smashed by a group of ignorant children, and the old Taoist priest didn't know where he went. Old Mrs. Tang kept her mouth shut all the way. She returned home happily. As soon as she got home, she asked Tang Nian to take out the work permit. Don't lose it. Tang Nian took out the work permit and said casually, it won't be lost. Old Mrs. Tang looked at the work permit as if she were looking at a treasure. Tang Manin and his wife and Tang Jujin also came over to look. Nian's photo is so beautiful.
Su Jinfeng.
The handwriting is so good. People in public institutions are so educated.
Tang Manin.
This work permit is so beautifully made. Look at the leather, is it real leather? Said Mrs. Tang. Second sister is amazing, said Tang Jujin. Tang Nian's mouth curled up, and her cold eyes showed a little more warmth. That night, the Tang family had a beautiful dream. The only one who was unhappy was Tang Wujin. She was not happy for Tang Nian at all. She wished that Tang Nian would be unlucky and live a hard life. But the fact is that Tang Nian's life is getting better and better, but she is going to be married to a barbaric rural man by her grandmother. Tang Nian had no dreams all night, and Tang Wujin cried all night. His eyes were swollen into a line, but no one cared about her. Su Jinfeng didn't have time to take care of her now. There were so many things to do every day, and she didn't have time to worry about it. Moreover, she felt that her eldest daughter really needed to be taught a lesson. The next morning, the chief family set off firecrackers. The village was filled with a thick smell of gunpowder, and many children ran to pick up unlit firecrackers. According to the customs of Tang village, in the morning, the bride was picked up, and the woman's family had to prepare a banquet to entertain the woman's relatives and friends. After lunch, the groom took the bride home, and in the evening the man's family entertained relatives and friends. Yang Hongling's family was not in Jucheng, so her relatives could not come. The only guests were the educated youths at the educated youth point. Her teeth have been fixed, and her shrunken face is fuller, but still not as good as before. Moreover, the current denture technology is not good, and she doesn't have much money, so she has the cheapest dentures. When she opens her mouth, she feels like plastic. Let's pick up the bride. The children shouted happily. Chiguohua, wearing a military uniform and a red flower tied on his chest, walked in front with a proud look on his face, going to the educated youth point to pick up the bride. Many children followed him and jumped behind. Yang Hongling changed into a red plaid jacket. According to the custom of Tang Village, the bride must wear a red cotton jacket when she gets married, which means a prosperous and happy life after marriage. Yang Hongling didn't have time to make a cotton jacket, and there was no such custom in her hometown, so she wore a red plaid jacket that was about 70% new. Lu Jinglan put on some light makeup for her, using a matchstick to draw her eyebrows. There was no lipstick, so she could only apply some flower juice to her lips. In addition, she was in high spirits because of the happy event. Yang Hongling, who had an ordinary appearance, was also a beautiful bride today. Seeing the tall, handsome, and talented Chiguohua, Yang Hongling smiled shyly, feeling very proud. She finally got such a good man. When Chiguohua was promoted, she could go to the army and no longer have to work in this place. The educated youth camp prepared a table of wine, a bowl of meat, and a plate of fish. There were 6 more ordinary dishes, 8 in total. After dinner, Chiguohua and Yang Hongling went home. Along the way, they set off a string of firecrackers, which was extremely festive. In the evening, the Qi family prepared 10 tables of wine. In addition to the villagers, there were also relatives from Qi's mother's family. They borrowed a lot of money for the wine this time, and the dishes were quite decent, so as to avoid gossip. The Qi family thought that after Chiguohua was promoted to an officer in the army, he would be able to get an allowance of 18 yuan per month. The army did not charge for food and drink, and the 18 yuan allowance could at least be sent home for 15 yuan, and the debt would be paid off soon. Congratulations! May you have a happy marriage and have a son soon. A talented man and a beautiful woman. A match made in heaven. The guests were almost all there, and they all said festive and auspicious words. Qi's father and mother welcomed the guests at the door, their faces flushed and beaming with joy. Yesterday, Mrs. Tang did not want to go, but after a night, the old lady changed her mind and looked forward to the dark for morning because she was going to use her big move. If it weren't for the wine party at the Qi family, Mrs. Tang would have already shown off her granddaughter's monthly income of 98 yuan. To achieve the best effect, she also told the team leader last night not to tell his wife. Because the team leader's wife is not tight-lipped. As soon as it got dark, Mrs. Tang dragged Tang Minyan to have a drink, and also called Su Jinfeng and Ju Jin to cooperate. She didn't like Tang Manyin because she thought her eldest son was too dumb. When the Tang family appeared, all the guests were silent, with surprised eyes. I didn't expect that the Tang family really dared to come to the wine party. They are really strong-willed. Congratulations. Mrs. Tang congratulated in a sarcastic way, with her eyes slanted, her head raised, and her chin against the chief father and his wife. Since she knew that her granddaughter earned 98 yuan a month, the old lady's eyes have never looked at the ground, and she naturally glanced up. Congratulations, please come in. Qi's father smiled and was very polite. Old Mrs. Tang walked in front with a proud and arrogant manner, and her momentum was much greater than that of the bridegroom. For people from the Tang family came and occupied half of the table. There were some melon seeds, peanuts, and wedding candies on the table. The best ones were assorted candies, and the rest were fruit candies. This kind of candy was considered good. White rabbit milk candies were not available to ordinary people. Rural people basically had fruit candies when they held banquets. Those who could offer assorted candies were all wealthy families. There were also 2 children at the table, both of whom were looking for assorted candies to eat. They had a good relationship with Tang Jujin and even gave her assorted candies. This one is not delicious. I'll give you milk candies. Tang Jujin looked disgusted, took out a few white rabbit milk candies from his pocket, and stuffed them into his friends. My second sister bought them. My second sister said, "Buy more after you finish eating, as much as you want." The little girl spoke in a very loud voice and in a very loud tone. "Your second sister is so nice." The friends were very envious, and their sisters only knew how to spank them. Second aunt, "You are so nice to Nian Nian, giving her so much pocket money." A woman laughed. She was also a daughter-in-law of the Tang family, and she had to call old lady Tang aunt. "How can I give her money? Nian Nian earned it all by herself. She now earns 98 yuan a month." Old lady Tang finally found an opportunity to show off. She rolled up her sleeves, got ready, and waited for others to ask. Everyone did not disappoint her. First, there was a gasp, and then they all asked questions. "Is Nian Nian working? Which unit? She can get 98 a month? What does she do? When did Nian Nian go to work? No wonder Nian Nian goes to the city every day these days. It turns out that she goes to work." Old lady Tang looked at everyone's shocked expressions, and her vanity was greatly satisfied. She had been holding it in for a day and a night, waiting for this effect. She cleared her throat and began to show off. "The Red Star Machinery Factory is the unit called Manin. My daughter Nian is so lucky." She was going to look for her second uncle, but there happened to be an urgent task in the factory. Even a master chef's couldn't do it. When Nian found out about it, she took it up immediately and completed the urgent task beautifully. Director Wu of the Red Star Factory is used to big occasions and has a very good vision. As soon as he saw my daughter Nian, he knew she was an extraordinary talent and insisted on keeping her to work in the factory. Nian refused to agree at first. "You all know that this girl has been smart since she was a child, but she is also lazy. She would rather lie down than sit. She was so lazy that she didn't even eat glutinous rice because she thought it was too troublesome to them up." Such a good unit didn't agree? "Nian is too lazy. If this job was given to me, I would definitely agree." Someone made a joke. "What can you do? The factory manager doesn't like you. Stop arguing and listen to second aunt." The guests were attracted by Mrs. Tang's wonderful speech. They all gathered around, like stars surrounding the moon, surrounding the Tang family. The other tables were empty, and no one came to see the bride and groom. After all, wedding banquets can be enjoyed frequently, and a job that pays 98 yuan a month is not something you can come across every day. They also want to learn and see if they can find a job in the city in the future. Their requirements are not high, and they are satisfied if they can earn more than 10 yuan a month. Old Mrs. Tang was very proud. She stretched her hand, and someone immediately brought her hot tea. She drank a few sips to moisten her throat and started the wonderful performance again. Su Jinfeng would occasionally interject a few words in the middle, which made the story more vivid. "My Nian Nian has real skills. No matter where she goes, there are companies vying for her. She has never scored less than 100 in exams since she was a child. She is also outstanding in appearance and always ranks first in everything. If it weren't for the fact that the Red Star Factory is a full silver company, Nian Nian might not agree." Old Mrs. Tang said with a beaming face. Su Jinfeng also served as a good supporting role. The guests listened with relish. Tang Jujin was also among the children, performing her performance, praising Tang Nian Nian to the sky. All the children envied Tang Jujin to death.
Tang Nian Nian can liet melon sit.
Although old Mrs. Tang's words were a bit exaggerated, she could still hold it. "Sister has seen big scenes, don't panic. Your Nian Nian will be a commercial grain in the future? You can still earn 98 yuan a month. What kind of young man is worthy of Nian Nian?" After seeing Tang Nian Nian's work permit, the guests believed that she earned 98 yuan a month and were no longer jealous. After all, the goal was too high and they couldn't catch up even if they drove a tractor, so they didn't have the heart to be jealous. No wonder Nian Nian looked down on Chiguohua. The difference is not ordinary. A guest whispered, "In the past, I felt sorry for Tang Nian Nian, and I was afraid that she would never find a better partner than Chiguohua. Now it seems that Chiguohua is obviously not worthy of Tang Nian Nian." The other guests nodded, and it was indeed the case. Everyone was talking happily, forgetting that they were here to attend a wedding banquet, and forgetting that they were at someone else's wedding banquet. The voices became louder and louder, so loud that the bride and groom could hear it, as well as Chi's father and mother. Nian Nian is so capable and looks like a peony. 10 Chiguohuas are not worthy of her. He can only match Yang Hongling's big pancake face. A woman said in a loud voice. She and Chi's mother usually don't get along. Now that she has such a good opportunity, she can't wait to borrow a loudspeaker from the team leader to promote Tang Niannian. The faces of the Chi family members are all dark. Shameless old woman. I can't stop scolding her. Chi's mother wanted to teach the loud-voiced woman a lesson, but was stopped by Chi's father. Don't make a fuss on a happy day, smile. Chi's father was also very annoyed, but he knew that today was his son's big day, and he couldn't let the guests laugh at him. He took a deep breath, forced a smile, and greeted the guests. Chi Guohua and Yang Hongling both smiled reluctantly and absent-mindedly. Yang Hongling was very angry. She actually said that she had a big pancake face and that she was not as good as Tang Niannian. She was so angry. She is from Beijing, and her parents are both glorious working class. Tang Niannian is a rural girl. No matter how beautiful she is, she can't compare with her. Rural people are ignorant. Their eyes are shallower than the ditch, and they can only see Tang Niannian's face. Humph, when Chi Guohua is promoted in the future, she can go to the army and don't have to deal with these bumpkins anymore. As for the 98 yuan a month job that everyone is talking about, Yang Hongling doesn't believe it at all. Her father is a 4th-level electrician, and his monthly salary is only more than 50 yuan. 98 yuan must be at least 6th level. Tang Niannian is a teenage rural girl who has never seen the world. She can't even brag well. Chi Guohua is also thinking about this job. He thinks more than Yang Hongling and is half believing and half doubting. Although Mrs. Tang likes to show off, the things she brags about are basically true, at most exaggerated. If it is not a confirmed thing, Mrs. Tang will never bring it up. Obviously, Tang Niannian really found a job in the city, but it is definitely not a salary of 98 yuan. Chi Guohua regretted it now. If he had known that Tang Niannian could get a formal job, he would not have tried every means to cancel the engagement. Tang Niannian, who had a stable job, was at least 100 times better than Yang Hongling. He really missed the point. Chi Guohua, who was extremely annoyed, forced himself to smile, which was uglier than crying. He would occasionally glance at Tang Niannian in the guest seats, because he found that Tang Niannian seemed to be more beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow, and as beautiful as peaches and plums. With so many people around, Tang Niannian was particularly eye-catching, so beautiful that people could not take their eyes away. Chi Guohua stared at her with his eyes wide open, and his feet could not help but move towards the guests. He even had the urge to run away from the marriage. "Where are you looking?" Yang Hongling asked with gritted teeth, and pulled her back. She hated Tang Niannian in her heart. They must have come to the wedding banquet on purpose to her man. Chi Guohua shuddered, and woke up completely. He looked at Tang Niannian reluctantly, and then looked away. But the voice of Mrs. Tang continued to come. "My Niannian is still young, so she is not in a hurry to find a partner. Besides, her current conditions are not suitable for ordinary young men. We must find a top one. Among the girls in our Tang village, Nian is the most outstanding."
You are not right.
Our Tang village has good water, and the girls are all outstanding. Mrs. Tang immediately retorted. Although she also thought so, she must not accept this statement. Otherwise, she would be hated. The other guests who had daughters all softened their expressions. This was right. The girls in Tang village were all outstanding. The firecrackers were set off again, crackling, covering the voices of the guests. Mrs. Tang had shown off enough, and drank a cup of hot tea without fighting for melon seeds. Normally, she would definitely put a handful of melon seeds in her pocket and take them home to eat slowly. Everyone in the village does this. Now old lady Tang disdains to do such things. Her granddaughter is a capable person who earns 98 yuan a month. Can she still compete with others for these melon seeds? It's too embarrassing. The banquet started. There were 4 cold dishes and 4 hot dishes, including fish, meat, and chicken. It was a very decent banquet. The Chi family invested a lot of money this time. Tang Nianyan was very happy to eat. She paid 50 cents for the share, so she had to eat it back. Old Lady Tang quickly picked up several pieces of meat, gave them to Tang Nianyan first, then to Tang Jujin, and then put them in her own bowl. Be quick, everyone at home is starving, but you pretend to be a lady when you go out. Don't eat vegetables, eat meat. There are plenty of vegetables at home. Old Lady Tang kept muttering in Tang Nianyan's ears, and picked up meat for her from time to time. The old lady really couldn't stand this prodigal girl. She ate vegetables when she came out for a drink. Even the fools in the village knew that they had to eat meat when they had a feast. This dead girl was worse than a fool. Old Lady Tang now doubted the brain of the director of the Red Star factory. Was he as stupid as the dead girl? Otherwise, how could he give this prodigal girl such a high salary? It was probably a fool looking at a fool, and they fell in love. Tang Nianyan was impatient and divided the meat in the bowl between the old lady and Tang Jujin. She didn't like others to pick up vegetables, and Old Lady Tang didn't use serving chopsticks. In this era, there was no concept of serving chopsticks in the countryside. If she told the old lady, she would probably be scolded again. "Grandma, you've worked hard. Eat more," Tang Nianyan said casually with a stern face, and ignored the old lady. She didn't see that Old Lady Tang's eyes turned red instantly, and her nose was sour. The old lady sniffed and lowered her head to eat the meat. She felt that it was more fragrant than dragon meat. Old Lady Tang has been running this family for most of her life, but this is the first time that someone has said to her that they have worked hard. She feels like a ball of warm fire enveloping her heart, soft and hot. She is also full of passion. If anyone dares to bully Nian girl, Old Lady Tang will immediately pick up a hatchet and rush to kill that. "Grandma, you are crying." Tang Jujin's chopsticks fell to the ground. She squatted down to pick up the chopsticks and accidentally saw her grandmother's eyes flashing. "Cry your head off. I am blinded by sand. Eat your meat." Old Lady Tang couldn't hold her face anymore, so she took a piece of fat meat to block her granddaughter's mouth. She was old and could not be seen crying. She couldn't afford to lose face. Tang Jujin chewed the fat meat with big mouthfuls and didn't feel greasy at all. Chiguohua's braised pork had more fat than lean meat. Many of them didn't even have any lean meat, but only greasy fat slices. It can be seen that they really invested a lot of money. The guests were very satisfied, and their mouths were full of oil. Tang Nianyan couldn't eat anymore. She liked to eat pork belly with fat and lean meat, and she wanted less fat and more lean meat. She felt full just by looking at this kind of fat meat slices. She shared all the meat with Tang Manjin and Su Jinfeng and didn't keep any for herself. The wedding banquet was over. All 8 dishes on the table were eaten up, not even the soup was left. The cigarettes, melon seeds, and candies on the table were also taken home by the guests. There were still some young men who didn't leave. They stayed to make trouble in the bridal chamber. Tang Nianyan was not interested in making trouble in the bridal chamber. She had already found out that Chiguohua would return to the army the day after tomorrow and could stay in Tang village for 2 nights. But she found out that Chiguohua was supposed to have a wedding leave when he got married. He should have stayed for a few more days, but he hurried back to the army. Obviously, this scumbag didn't like Yang Hongling that much. The reason why they got the marriage certificate so quickly was probably because of the resources promised by Lu Jinglan. No matter how big the pie Lu Jinglan painted, Chiguohua couldn't eat it. She waited until now just to wait for Chiguohua and Yang Hongling to be completely tied together. Otherwise, they would have done it long ago. In just one night, the news that Tang Nianyan worked in the city and earned a high salary of 98 yuan spread quickly in several nearby villages like Wings. Along with this news, Chiguohua's mistake of picking up sesame seeds and throwing away watermelons was also tied. Tang Nianyan and this couple also became famous. But Tang Nianyan had a good reputation. Men within 100 miles wanted to marry her. Chiguohua and Yang Hongling's reputation was worse, especially Yang Hongling, who single-handedly lowered the reputation of the female educated youth. Many engaged young men were warned by their parents and fiancés that they must keep their distance from the female educated youth. Yang Hongling couldn't hear these gossips. She was still immersed in the sweetness of her newlywed life. Besides, they were about to part ways. She wished that a day could be divided into 48 hours so that she could stick to Chiguohua all the time. Chiguohua was annoyed by her, but he couldn't lose face. He could only find excuses to go to the mountain to collect firewood to avoid Yang Hongling, who was in great demand. This woman couldn't be fed enough. She wanted it day and night. He couldn't afford it even if he was a cow. Moreover, Yang Hongling was average-looking and even more average-looking. Chi Guohua really couldn't get interested. He would rather go to the mountain to chop firewood than accompany Yang Hongling. Tang Niannian was also in the mountain. She went into the deep mountains with Bai Sui. She wanted to hunt some wild boars. There were a lot of medicinal herbs in the deep mountains. Tang Niannian also found Dendrobium officinale, which grew on the cliff and was particularly beautiful. She picked all the mature ones and planted some in the space. Dendrobium officinale has high medicinal value. Fresh ones can be stewed in soup, and dried ones can be used to make tea. It can enhance immunity and fight cancer. In later times, this thing was sold at a very high price, and wild ones were even more expensive. Bai Sui was very familiar with the deep mountains. When it came through, it settled in the deep mountains and wandered around for 2 days before finding its owner. Tang Niannian asked it to drive away the wild boars, and she stood guard outside. Half an hour later, there was a tremor, and Bai Sui ran out like a fly and hid behind Tang Niannian. Then, dust flew, and more than a dozen wild boars ran over. The leading wild boar was at least 300 kilograms, with a green face and fangs, and was ferocious and ferocious. The following ones were also fat, running with the momentum of thousands of troops, and the mountain was shaken. "What did you do to them?" Tang Niannian asked angrily, and quickly took out the hidden knife. She still had a handgun in her space, but she didn't dare to use it. If she really started to shoot, she was afraid that she would be arrested as a spy. Facing more than a dozen ferocious wild boars, Tang Niannian's calves trembled a little. She only asked Bai Sui to drive away 3 or 4, but this guy actually drove away a group.
Woof.
"I just poked it lightly. You are so stingy and have no manners," Bai Sui answered angrily. When he passed by, the group of wild boars were grazing on the lawn. He recognized the leader of the wild boars, who had fought with him a few days ago, so he quietly went over and poked the first pig with a melon seed. He only used a little bit of strength, just like tickling an itch. This pig was too petty and actually wanted to fight to the death with him. "You son of a..."
Tanianian kuset angili.
"What do you mean I just poked it lightly?" This son of a must have poked his. I don't know where he learned this despicable trick. Bai Sui didn't think so. He was a son of a. Tang Niannian used her hidden knife to chop the first pig. With her hands were numb. The wild boar skin was as hard as iron, and ordinary knives couldn't cut it at all. It was best to poke it in the eyes or belly. If there were 3 or 4 wild boars, Tang Niannian could still deal with them easily. If there were more than 10 of them, she really wanted to them. After being hit by wild boars several times, Tang Niannian's head was about to explode, but she also thought of a good idea. "Collect!" Tang Niannian used all her strength and shouted at the group of wild boars. There was a huge pain in her head, as if the blood in her brain was suddenly drained. Her eyes went black, and she collapsed to the ground. The group of wild boars disappeared. They appeared in the space, looking at the unfamiliar environment in confusion. Tang Niannian was awakened by Bai Sui's licking. The familiar sound of saliva made her wake up quickly. Every time she fainted from fighting in the end of the world, it was Bai Sui who licked her awake. "Woof. Get up if you're not dead." Bai Sui breathed a sigh of relief, and his words were as unpleasant as always. Tang Niannian didn't want to move. She didn't have any strength left. The just now almost took her life. "Lean on me for a while." Tang Niannian's voice was very weak. Bai Sui moved over, and she leaned on the warm fur, feeling very comfortable. An hour later, Tang Niannian regained her strength. She used her mind to inspect the space. The wild boars were quiet in the space, and their hostility had disappeared. She found that all animals that entered her space would automatically regard her as their master, which made it very convenient to manage them.
Kill the pig.
Tang Nian jumped up. She released a wild boar weighing 200 or 300 kilograms from the space, stabbed it in the neck with a knife, and blood flowed out. This wild boar had to cross the open road, and some meat had to be distributed to the villagers. Tang village had a rule that small prey such as rabbits and pheasants could be eaten by the villagers themselves, but large beasts such as wild boars, no matter who killed them, would be shared by the whole village. In the past, no one could hunt wild boars alone. Even old man Tang Qingshan had to call a few young men together to hunt down a wild boar. Every time the wild boar meat was distributed, the Tang family got the most, because Tang Qingshan made the greatest contribution in hunting wild boars. Bai Sui had already run back to the village. Tang Nian asked him to call someone to carry the pig. She could do it by herself, but she didn't want to.
Because she was lazy.
Bai Sui ran down the mountain in a few minutes like a flash of lightning, and passed by Qi Guohua, who was chopping wood. Qi Guohua's eyes flashed, as if a yellow shadow had just flown by, but when he looked closely, there was nothing. Perhaps he was dazzled. Qi Guohua continued to chop wood slowly. There was enough firewood at home, and he went to the mountain to hide in peace just to avoid Yang Hongling. Half an hour later, noisy voices came from the foot of the mountain, and the voice of old lady Tang was the loudest. Xiao San, did Nian really kill a wild boar? This dead girl is so bold that she ran up the mountain alone again. I can't kill her when I come back. Xiao San, hurry up, Nian must be injured. Old lady Tang was anxious and wished she could fly up the mountain. The captain was also anxious, but they only had 2 legs and no wings, so they could not outrun the yellow dog no matter how fast they were. It was unknown where Nian got the dog from, but it was smarter than humans. It just ran to the field and ran straight to him, spitting the note wrapped in leaves in its mouth in front of him. Then it looked straight at him and pointed with its paw, signaling him to look quickly.
Li Run was just about to speak.
There was only one sentence on the note: Uncle San, a wild boar was killed, come quickly. The captain was shocked. This girl actually went up the mountain to kill wild boars? He wanted to ask Bai Sui if the dead girl was injured, but just as he opened his mouth, he remembered that the other party was a dog, and even if he answered, he would not understand. So the captain called the young and strong men in the village and ran up the mountain in a hurry. Old Mrs. Tang was worried about her granddaughter, so she ran to the front with her short legs and complained that the captain was too slow. Guohua, have you seen Nian? The captain saw Qi Guohua chopping wood and asked in a hoarse voice. I didn't see her go up the mountain. What happened? Qi Guohua thought something happened to Tang Nian, and he had complicated feelings. He felt distressed and a little gloating. Even if something happened to your whole family, my Nian will be fine. If you can't speak human language, just shut up. Old Mrs. Tang scolded. If she wasn't in a hurry to go up the mountain, she would definitely scold all 38 generations of Qi's ancestors. The captain quickly pulled people up the mountain. His second aunt was not so fierce when she was young. The older she got, the more angry she became. When his second uncle was alive, she could still suppress her temper. After his second uncle passed away, the old lady was like Monkey King without the golden hoop. No one could control her. Qi Guohua followed them with a livid face. He wanted to see what happened to Tang Nian. It would be best if she fell off the cliff, ruined her face, and became disabled. So she can't go to work in the city, let alone marry into a good family. The wind was strong on the mountain, and Tang Nian's nose was frozen. Finally, she waited for the captain and his men. Third uncle, you are so slow. Carry this wild boar down. I want 2 hind legs, pig stomach, and pig intestines. Tang Nian knew that wild boar stomach was a medicinal material, which was very good for treating stomach problems and was also delicious for cooking. She had missed her pig intestines for many years and must eat enough. 1 hind leg for her family and 1 for 4th grandpa, as she had promised before. She always kept her word. This wild boar weighed nearly 300 kilograms, and she didn't ask for much. What a big wild boar, Nian. Did you kill it by yourself? The villagers were so shocked that their eyes almost fell to the ground. Nian girl was not even as heavy as a wild boar leg. How could she be so powerful? Bai Sui and I killed it. Tang Nianyan did not take all the credit. Bai Sui raised his dog head, glanced at the world with a sidelong look, and was full of domineering. Well done, little Nian. You are still amazing even at the age of 100. Now there is someone to take over the throne of Lord Qingshan. The villagers praised her endlessly. Although they had some doubts, there was no one on the mountain except Tang Nian and the dog. It was impossible for the wild boar to commit suicide, so it must have been killed by little Nian. When Tang Qingshan was alive, he often took little Nian to the mountain to hunt. It was not surprising that the girl had learned the skills of hunting. You are so brave, little girl. Are you hurt? Old Mrs. Tang cursed and checked Tang Nian up and down to see if she was hurt. Seeing that not even a hair on her body was broken, she was relieved, but she cursed even more fiercely and forbade her to go up the mountain alone in the future. Tang Nianyan just thought she was talking nonsense. Anyway, she had to go up the mountain. What would she eat if she didn't go up the mountain? The captain ordered people to carry the wild boar down the mountain. The villagers were all happy. The wild boar was the public property of the village. Even if Tang Nianyan lost 2 legs, there were still about 200 kilograms left. Each family could get 2 kilograms, which could make a lot of money. Qi Guohua had a complicated expression. His hopes were dashed. Tang Nianyan was fine and killed such a big wild boar. Why didn't he realize that this had such a great ability before? This must have been hiding her abilities before, otherwise he would not have been able to find out. Qi Guohua was unwilling to admit that he was blind. He pushed all the responsibility onto Tang Nianyan and hated her even more. Tang Nianyan's current arrogance was a slap in his face. He felt that Tang Nianyan must have done it on purpose to humiliate him, just like showing off a job worth 98 yuan at the wedding on the day of her wedding. Qi Guohua gritted his teeth and looked at Tang Nianyan's back with resentment. Tang Nianyan turned around suddenly and met his eyes. Qi Guohua felt a chill on his back. Tang Nianyan's eyes just now were like those of a wild wolf in the dark night, cold and fierce, as if they would claw him at any time. He looked away in fear. Cold sweat broke out on his back, and his heart beat like a drum. Tang Nianyan sneered silently. The good days of the scumbag have entered the countdown. Qi Guohua only wanted to be promoted, so he would destroy this scumbag's dream and prevent him from being promoted. The first 2 is the cheapest. Qi Guohua used despicable means on the original body first, and she just added some seasoning and gave it back. Reciprocity is the way of courtesy. On this day, Tang Village was more lively than the new year. The wild boar was slaughtered quickly. The Tang family got 2 legs as well as pig stomach and large intestine. The team leader also gave some bones, and the villagers had no objection. They just sat back and enjoyed the meat, so what else could they object to? Tang Nianyan was sent directly to the captain's house and left behind a hind leg. This is for my 4th grandfather. Then he left without looking back. The captain couldn't catch up with him, so he had to accept it, but he looked at Tang Nianyan with a different eye. After returning home, she was naturally scolded by old lady Tang. Tang Nianyan took out a big unity card and asked the old lady to shut up. That night, the air in Tang Village was filled with the smell of meat. Every family cooked meat, and adults and children were very happy to eat it. Old Lady Tang stewed a big pot of bone and radish soup and also fried pickled cabbage and pork intestines for Tang Nianyan. She salted the remaining meat and hung it under the beams to make dried bacon. It was delicious whether steamed, boiled, or stewed. The yellow mud shell spring bamboo shoots that came out in a while were a must-try for stewing bacon soup. No seasoning was needed. Just stew the spring bamboo shoots and bacon together for a few hours. The soup was milky white and so fresh that even eyebrows would fall off. The Tang family members were all full and had round bellies. The food these days was better than that of the emperor's family. They had meat to eat every day, and even rice. They were so happy. At night, the Tang family members went to sleep. Tang Nianyan entered the space and found a little cutie that had been sent in from the mountain before. The triangular-headed snake was shivering in the cave. It just came out to get some fresh air and was caught by the terrible 2-legged beast. It was so scared. Don't be afraid. Help me bite someone tomorrow, and I'll send you home. Tang Nianyan squatted in front of the snake and comforted it softly. It was her fault. The snake was hibernating well, but she caught it. If you do something wrong, you have to apologize. She is a reasonable person. However, the snake was not comforted because it didn't understand. It trembled even more. That night, everyone in Tang Village slept very soundly because they had eaten meat, and their dreams were all about meat. When they woke up the next morning, they were all full of energy. Qi Guohua went up the mountain again. He was in a good mood. He would return to the team tomorrow. If nothing unexpected happened, he would be promoted in the summer. When he climbed halfway up the mountain, Qi Guohua stopped to rest. His legs were a little weak. Yang Hongling had pestered him to do it 4 times last night, and once again in the morning. He felt that his body was hollowed out. Qi Guohua's eyes were a little blurry. He missed a step and almost fell. He was scared and sobered up a lot. He didn't know what was going on. His eyesight had been getting worse in the past few days. Could it be that he was nearsighted? Qi Guohua was a little worried. Myopia might cause him to retire early. He still wanted to get promoted in the army. Folk sayings say that when a man just loses his virginity, too many times may affect his eyesight. He simply stood on to rest. The mountain breeze blew over, and he was much more sober. Qi Guohua was ready to chop wood nearby. He looked around and found a few dead trees to chop. Tang Nianyan went up the mountain before him, and she released the snake on the in front of Qi Guohua. Be good, take a bite hard, and I'll give you this as a reward. Tang Nianyan had spiritual spring water in her palm. The snake knew what it was, and it immediately slid towards Qi Guohua without her instructions. Qi Guohua, who was concentrating on chopping wood, didn't see the snake getting closer and closer. Moreover, it was early spring, and the snakes were basically hibernating. Even if a few ran out, they were lazy and would not attack people. So Qi Guohua completely relaxed his mind and chopped wood again and again. He happened to be standing on a steep. If he lost his center of gravity, he would slide down. There was a sharp pain in his calf, and Qi Guohua's heart skipped a beat. He lowered his head suddenly and saw a gray snake sliding past. He panicked, his body swayed, his feet slipped, and he rolled down.
Ah!
Qi Guohua screamed, followed by a groan. In order to avoid suspicion, Tang Nianyan stayed more than 10 meters away from him. After the snake bit someone, it ran back to her. It finished the spiritual spring with satisfaction and was reluctant to leave. Go back to your own home. I'll find you if I have something to do in the future. Tang Nianyan pushed it away with disdain. She didn't want to raise snakes in the space. She couldn't love such cold-blooded animals. The snake spit out red tongue and slid away reluctantly. It turned its head several times, but Tang Nianyan was indifferent. The IQ of the snake that drank the spiritual spring must be higher than that of ordinary snakes. This snake can be regarded as having a chance and will live well on this mountain in the future. Help! Is there anyone? Qi Guohua's painful cry came over. He was unlucky. When he rolled down the hillside, the huge inertia hit a big rock and broke his right leg. His left leg was bitten by a poisonous snake, and his left calf was now swollen like a carrot and shiny black. Qi Guohua reacted quickly. He used a hatchet to release the poisonous blood and tied his legs with a cloth to prevent the poison from spreading. But if no one saved him, he would definitely die. Tang Nianyan walked down slowly and walked past him arrogantly. Nianyan, save me. Qi Guohua called her. His face was gray, and his eyes were getting blurrier, but he still recognized Tang Nianyan. After a poisonous snake bites a person, the eyes will be temporarily blinded. The author has a relative who has been bitten by a poisonous snake. Broken leg? God is really wise. Tang Nianyan's playful voice made Qi Guohua almost blood. He suppressed his anger and said weakly, I was bitten by a poisonous snake. Nianyan, save me. Bitten by a poisonous snake again? God is wise this time. Tang Nianyan didn't move at all. She didn't pick the most poisonous 5-step snake, so it wouldn't kill people in a short time. Qi Guohua was blinded by anger. Really blind. It was pitch black in front of him, and he couldn't see anything. Qi Guohua was panicking. He was going to be promoted, so how could he stay in the army if he was blind? Tang Nianyan admired his panic and embarrassment for a while, and then he was very happy. Only then did he mercifully let Bai Sui go down the mountain to find someone. Bai Sui ran to find the captain with a note in his mouth, as if he was familiar with the route. Did Nian girl kill a wild boar again? The villagers' eyes lit up when they saw Bai Sui. Didn't you eat enough meat yesterday? Did you raise the wild boars in the mountains? You dream about good things every day. The captain scolded him and tore off the leaves. On the note inside was Tang Nianyan's flamboyant handwriting. Chiguahua was bitten by a snake, and his leg was broken. The captain frowned. How could a snake bite off a leg? There were no pythons in their Zhejiang province. Old Chi, your Guohua's leg was bitten off by a snake. Hurry up and go up the mountain. The captain went to call Chi's father and had to get a door panel to carry the man down. Chi's father was still able to keep his composure, but Chi's mother and Yang Hongling's faces turned pale. They all ran up the mountain and saw Chi Guohua lying on the ground groaning. His face had turned black like a bao gong, and his whole body was swollen like dough. Guohua! Chi's mother wailed and fell straight back and was caught by someone. Old Mrs. Tang also followed. She came to watch the fun. The more unlucky the Chi family was, the happier she was. The team leader checked Chi Guohua's injuries. His right leg was fractured very seriously. No one in the village could set bones, so he had to go to the health center. We have to send him to the health center quickly. The team leader called a few young and strong men to take turns to lift the door panel and carry Chi Guohua down the mountain. The commune health center was 10 miles away from Tang village. Everyone was very dedicated and rushed to the health center without stopping along the way. But the delay was still a bit long. When they arrived at the health center, Chi Guohua had fainted and was swollen like a black radish. We can't treat this snake venom. We have to go to the county hospital. Hurry up and don't delay. The doctor at the health center simply straightened the bone and asked them to rush to the county hospital. The commune health center was poor and couldn't treat snake venom. It was still 20 miles away from the county town. It would be too late to carry it there. The captain found a way to borrow a tractor from the commune, which cost him half a pack of Hong Shuangxi. This Hong Shuangxi was sent by Tang Nianyan. Tang Nianyan went home happily. She had to have a big dinner to celebrate in the evening. She originally just wanted to delay Chi Guohua's return to the team, but she didn't expect that God would be so powerful. She just threw a small snake, but it turned out to be a double, and Chi Guohua's 2 legs were crippled. It takes 100 days to heal a broken bone. If Chi Guohua returns to the army in 3 months, the promotion will definitely fail. If the leg is not well recovered, he may not be able to stay in the army. It was already dark, and the captain and the chief family hadn't returned. Old Mrs. Tang went to the village entrance several times. Of course, she didn't care about Chi Guohua, but just wanted to know if Chi Guohua was dead. It's so black, I guess it won't survive. During dinner, Old Lady Tang couldn't help talking to herself and praying secretly, hoping that God would be more powerful and let Chi Guohua die, and Yang Hongling would have to be a widow. Good people don't live long, and evil people stink for 10,000 years. It's for sure that it won't die, Tang Nianyan said with certainty. She didn't use any cruel force. It was just a small poisonous snake. She didn't want Chi Guohua to die so easily. God is still open-minded. There are snakes in this season, and they chose to bite that. It means that God can't stand it anymore. Old Lady Tang praised God for the first time and gave him the highest reward. It was 2 days later that news of Chi Guohua came back. Chi's father went door to door in the village to borrow money. Chi Guohua was seriously injured, and it would cost a lot of money. The family had spent all the money on the wedding banquet. The villagers lent some money to Chi Guohua because he had a bright future in the army, but the villagers could only give 10 or 8 yuan at most. Chi's father borrowed almost all the money in the village, and only borrowed about 100 yuan.
Fortunately, Yang Hongling borrowed 200 yuan from Liu Jinglan.
Liu Jinglan was reluctant at first, but she had to win over Chi Guohua, so she had to bear the pain and borrowed it. With 300 yuan, the medical expenses were temporarily enough, but Chi Guohua's right leg had problems. The health center had only simply straightened the bone, but the tractor bumped and bumped on the way to the county town, and the straight bone became crooked again and moved. The fracture was not very serious, but it became a bit troublesome, and the snake venom spread throughout the body, and the situation was quite serious. There is definitely no danger to his life, but there are two things I want to tell you in advance. The doctor called the family members, and his expression was very serious. Chi's father, mother, and Yang Hongling were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe, and their hearts were in their throats. Doctor, is the leg not properly connected? Chi's father's voice was hoarse, and he looked a dozen years older. The family's hope was on their son. If the leg was not properly connected, his son would become disabled and would definitely not be able to stay in the army. I will try my best to fix the leg, but the bone displacement is too serious. I can't guarantee that there will be no problems at all. This is one thing. The doctor was a little old and spoke slowly. The Chi family's hearts were hanging in the air, waiting for him to say the next words. Second, your son's eyesight is not very good, right? The doctor asked. Chi's father's face changed. Only he and his son knew about this. Guohua's eyesight was actually fine for normal life, and he didn't need to wear glasses, but he failed the physical examination when he joined the army. When checking his eyesight, Guohua remembered the direction of the symbols on the examination form and covered it up. After arriving in the army, Guohua was always very careful and didn't let anyone find out about his eyesight problems. The doctor knew what was going on when he saw his appearance and said, "Your son's eyesight is already weak, and he has lost a lot of yang energy these days, which has affected his vision. He was bitten by a poisonous snake, and the venom hurt his eyes. His vision will inevitably decline in the future. He won't be blind, but he will see things blurry. It's also bad luck for this young man. He just lost his yang energy and was bitten by a poisonous snake. It's good that his eyesight is not blind." The author made up that the snake bite hurts the eyes, and the plot requires a doctor. Can my husband's eyes be cured? Yang Hongling asked in a very urgent tone. It's not that it can't be cured, it's that he has weak eyesight to begin with, and the venom specifically attacks people's weaknesses. Don't worry, he won't be blind, and it won't affect his normal life. The doctor comforted. He still has to go back to the army. Doctor, please make sure to cure him. Yang Hongling was so anxious. He definitely couldn't stay in the army with poor eyesight. Chi Guohua had only been there for less than 2 years and couldn't transfer to civilian work, so he could only retire and return to the countryside to farm. She had gone to great lengths to marry Chi Guohua, not to stay in the countryside and farm. I'll try my best. The doctor didn't dare to promise, and based on his decades of medical experience, Chi Guohua's eyes were probably not going to be cured. And even if there was no snake bite, Chi Guohua's eyes wouldn't pass the physical examination. This family was probably cheating, and their character was quite questionable. The doctor was impatient with being pestered by Yang Hongling and slipped away on the pretext of checking the ward. Chi's father, mother, and Yang Hongling sat in the office dumbfounded, their minds blank, not knowing what to do. Go to the provincial hospital. Guohua will definitely be cured. Yang Hongling made up her mind. If the county hospital couldn't cure him, she would go to the provincial hospital. She was now tied to Chi Guohua, and only when Chi Guohua was well could she be well. No matter what method she used, she would cure Chi Guohua. Yes, go to the provincial capital. Chi's father also had a backbone. The county hospital was too poor, and the provincial capital would definitely be able to cure his son. Transfer to another hospital now. Yang Hongling had never been so bold before. She ran to the doctor and asked for a transfer, but the doctor disagreed. The patient cannot be moved now. The journey to the provincial capital is long and bumpy. The patient's injuries will become more and more serious. You are harming him. The doctor gave many reasons, but he couldn't stop Yang Hongling from being stupid. She insisted on transferring to another hospital. Chi's father had no idea. After all, his ancestors had been begging for 18 generations, and the farthest place they had been to was the county town. Chi's father felt that his daughter-in-law was from Beijing after all, had seen the world, and was devoted to his son. She would definitely not harm his son, so he let Yang Hongling make the decision. The doctor couldn't persuade them, so he had to agree to transfer to another hospital and ask them to sign an accident exemption letter. In case Qi Guohua had an accident, it would not be related to the hospital. Yang Hongling signed her name and pressed her fingerprints. So, Qi Guohua, who was still in a coma, was sent to Haicheng by the county hospital. The road was nearly 100 miles long, and the bumps were even more severe. Qi Guohua's leg, which had just been reattached, shifted again. Unfortunately, the doctor in the provincial capital said the same thing as the doctor in the county. Moreover, because of the long-distance bumps, even if Qi Guohua's right leg was reattached, it would still leave sequelae, and he would walk with a slight limp. The people in Tang village didn't know about this, and Tang Nianyan didn't know either. She was now delivering goods at the Red Star factory. At 7 o'clock in the evening, she drove a few boxes of processed parts to the gate of the Red Star factory. Director Wu and the quality inspectors were waiting. "I have to go and tell them I'll be here in a while." Tang Nianyan said hello and drove away. When she arrived at the grove, she collected the truck and rode her bike to the Red Star factory. Director Wu and the quality inspectors checked the parts one by one. Tang Manin was also there, as well as Master, a 6th-level fitter. All the quality inspectors in the factory were called in and checked together, and the inspection lasted for nearly an hour. All of them are more precise than the drawings require. Director, no problem at all. Master Su, the head of the quality inspection team, was very excited. He really wanted to meet the master who processed these parts. His hands were so steady that each part seemed to be processed by the same person. But it was absolutely impossible. Even an 8th-level fitter could not process so many parts in just 3 days. It can only be said that the master craftsman that Tang Nianyan found had superb skills. Okay. Director Wu waved his hand and made a loud sound. He would call the shipyard to report tomorrow and ask them to send someone to inspect the goods. Then he could dance on Director Qian's head. These words were said by Tang Nianyan. At that time, he thought that the girl was talking nonsense. Now he realized that he was too narrow-minded. Heroes are born young. Director Wu, no problem, I'm leaving. If you have any problems in the future, just look for my second uncle directly. Tang Nianyan also wanted to go to the black market uncle's house to take a look. Last time, the uncle said there were good things, so she wanted to take a look. Xiao Tang, it is so late. You should stay in the city. I'll have someone arrange a guest house for you, and then arrange a dormitory for you. It's inconvenient for you to come and go. Director Wu, who was always serious, was amiable at this moment, with a smile on his face. The look he gave Tang Nianyan was more kind than when he looked at his own son. Thank you, Director Wu. I have to call home to let them know. Tang Nianyan was not polite. She didn't want to travel so late, and staying at the guest house was quite nice. Come to my office. Xiao Li called the guest house and asked them to arrange a single room. Director Wu asked his secretary to contact the guest house. Their Red Star factory and the guest house had business dealings, so they just needed to call and tell them. Secretary Li went to make the arrangements. Director Wu took Tang Nianyan to his office and chatted with her. He wanted to find out about this girl. Tang Manin was very conflicted. Should he follow her or not? Second uncle, go home first. I'll come to you later. Tang Nianyan asked. She also wanted to ask about the hand-cranked sock machine. Hey. Tang Manin breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he didn't want to follow her. He was scared when he saw the director. His niece talked and laughed with the director and handled things well. Tang Manin admired her very much. Now he really believed that his niece was hiding her incompetence before. Just like Lu in the opera, he was lazy and gluttonous for 30 or 40 years, but suddenly he had an epiphany, started to make progress, and finally became the emperor. Tang Manin felt that this was the case with his niece. This girl would definitely have a great future, and he would have to treat his niece better in the future. Tang Nianyan had no idea about the little tricks in her second uncle's mind, nor was she interested. She had a very good impression of the Tang family. Although everyone had their own selfish desires, they were very upright in the major issues and treated the original body very well. Especially old man Tang Qingshan, who treated the original body as if it were his eyeball. It was because of the old man's attitude that the Tang family did not dare to treat the original body badly. Since she occupied the body of the original body, she must repay the original body for her kindness and lead the Tang family to a good life within her ability. Except Tang Wujin. This stupid elder sister has been at odds with the original body since she was a child. She is not a saint who repays evil with kindness. Arriving at the factory director's office, Tang Nianyan called the village committee. It was estimated that no one would be there at this time, but the captain's home was not far from the village committee and he could hear the ringing. After ringing for more than 10 times, the phone was answered and the captain asked breathlessly, "Hello, Tongsun Captain, who are you looking for?" "Third uncle, it's Nian Nian. Please tell my grandma that I won't be back at night." "Are you staying with your second uncle? Where is your second uncle? Let him talk to me." The captain's tone was very serious. He had to ask a few more questions to a beautiful girl who was sleeping outside at night. "I'm staying in the guest house arranged by the factory director. My second uncle is not here, so I'm with the factory director." Tang Nian understood the captain as good intentions and looked at Director Wu. Nowadays, the sound of telephones is basically loudspeaker, and you can hear the voice in the microphone if you stand nearby. Director Wu answered the phone and said in an official tone, "Hello, I am Wu Songyuan, the director of the Red Star Machinery Factory. Comrade Tang Nianyan is a special talent of our factory. She has just completed a batch of urgent tasks. Because it is too late, I am worried about her going home alone, so I arranged for her to stay in the Zhuqing guest house. You must be Comrade Tang Nianyan's third uncle, right? You can rest assured. Comrade Tang Nianyan is the big baby of our Red Star factory. I will definitely take good care of her and there will be absolutely no mistakes." When the captain on the other end of the phone heard Director Wu's official tone, he subconsciously stood up straight, and the hand that was not answering the phone clenched his fist, standing as if he was reporting to the leader. Director Wu's official tone was too familiar to him. Every time he went to the commune to see the leader would speak in this way. "Hello, Director Wu. I am Tang Manshan, the third uncle of Comrade Tang Nianyan. I feel relieved that you are taking care of Nian Nian. Nian Nian is young and a little naughty. She doesn't take things lightly. If there is anything that she doesn't do well, Director Wu, please call me and I will definitely teach her a lesson." The captain spoke in a loud voice, with clear and melodious pronunciation. Tang Nianyan, who was standing next to him, heard it and her mouth twitched. The two of them were so serious when they were talking on the phone, just like performing a model opera. Comrade Tang Nianyan is a young hero and a pillar of the country. Comrade Tang Manshan, you have cultivated a rare talent for the country, Zhucheng and Red Star. I thank you on behalf of Red Star. Director Wu, you are too kind. Although Tang Nianyan has been smart since she was a child, she is mainly inseparable from her cultivation. Thank the party, the people, Red Star, and Director Wu. I hope you can strictly require Tang Nianyan and treat her equally with others." The two chatted on the phone for more than 10 minutes and recited a few quotations in the middle. They were full of emotion and passion, like a seagull giving a speech in a storm. Tang Nianyan almost laughed out loud several times. People in the 1970s were so serious when they made phone calls. It's really interesting. Finally, the tug-of-war was over. Director Wu handed the hot phone to Tang Nianyan. His eyes were particularly kind and a little strict. Because the captain had just entrusted his niece to him personally, he couldn't let the parents down. "Nianyan, you work hard in Red Star, listen to Director Wu, be friendly to your colleagues, respect your leaders, and ask Director Wu if you don't understand anything. Remember?" The captain's voice was a little hoarse, and he said earnestly,
Got it.
Tang Nianyan behaved very well. Anyway, it was up to her to decide whether to listen or not. The captain and Director Wu were very pleased. What a good child. After hanging up the phone, the captain licked his dry lips and went home in his cloth shoes. When the call came just now, he was scalding his feet. He ran here without even having time to wipe his feet. Now the soles of his feet are cold. Who calls so late? The water is cold. The third aunt's mother grumbled unhappily, preparing to pour out the cold water and change it to hot water. Don't change it. I have to go to the second uncle's house. Nian Nian called and said she would not come back to stay at night. The captain stopped him and took the flashlight to go out. Nian Nian lives in Manin's house? She will live in Manin's house in the future, right? She has become a formal employee. The third aunt's tone was very envious. In her opinion, being able to work in the machinery factory as a formal employee was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Moreover, Tang Nian Nian was beautiful and had such a good job. In the future, she would be able to choose the good young men in Zhucheng, the guest house arranged by the director of the Red Star factory. I just chatted with Director Wu for a while. Nian Nian is amazing and has a great future. The team leader was very moved and admired his second uncle. In the past, the villagers said that Nian Nian was lazy and could not marry a good young man. His second uncle scolded those people for being short-sighted and said that Nian Nian did not need to learn farm work because the girl's fortune was in the city. At that time, the villagers thought that the second uncle was whimsical. A rural girl did not learn farm work, but wanted to go to the city to be a lady? Now it seems that the second uncle's words have been verified. Isn't Nian Nian's fortune in the city? But the captain didn't know that Tang Qingshan said those words because Tang Nian Nian's biological parents said when they gave him the child that they would come back to pick up their daughter after they settled down on the other side. Old man Tang Qingshan had never been to the other side, but he had heard that people there drank milk and ate steak and bread, and that Tang Nian Nian's biological parents were so rich, and that this girl would definitely live a good life with her parents in the future. That's why he said those words to the villagers. But the old man never waited for Tang Nian Nian's biological parents to come and pick her up. Before he died, he specifically told his wife to treat Tang Nian Nian well, and even if her parents didn't come to pick her up, she had to treat the girl well. Director Wu personally made a cup of hot tea and said with a smile, "Little Tang, have some tea, and let's chat." Tang Nian Nian sat down generously and drank a sip of hot tea. The taste was not very good like old tea. It was a sin for the director of a factory to drink old tea. She still had a lot of good tea leaves in her space, so she opened a bag and gave it to Director Wu to eat. Moreover, she had transplanted a lot of tea trees, and when they were empty, she would pick the tea leaves and let old lady Tang stir-fry tea, so there would be no worries about tea leaves. Director Wu, if you have something to say, just say it. Your third uncle has entrusted you to me, so how about this, you call me Uncle Wu from now on and I call you Little Tang, how about that? Director Wu smiled so hard that his eyes narrowed. What he was most worried about now was that Tang Nian Nian would be snatched away by the Tianjin factory, and he had to do everything he could to retain his talent. Uncle Wu. Tang Nian Nian called out happily. Director Wu was so happy that his face was wrinkled. Secretary Li happened to push the door open and saw this scene. He retracted his raised legs. At that moment, he suspected that he had entered the wrong door. How could Director Wu, a black-breaded man, smile so casually? Secretary Li looked up at the sign at the door and saw that it was indeed the director's office. Then he pushed the door open and came in. In his heart, he classified Tang Nian Nian as the first important person in the factory. The last time Director Wu showed such a casual smile was when the city leaders came to inspect the work. He had to be more polite to this girl Tang Nian Nian in the future. Director, I have contacted the guest house. Comrade Xiao Tang just needs to register with his work permit. Okay, everything is fine here. You can go off work. Director Wu nodded and waved his hand, asking Secretary Li to leave quickly so as not to affect his and Xiao Tang's uncle-nephew relationship. Secretary Li retreated with a calm expression and thoughtfully closed the door, leaving a wide gap so that people passing by could see what was going on inside. In the past, there was a cadre in the factory who drew the curtains and closed the door when he was talking to a female comrade about work. Later, he was caught and killed on the desk by the female comrade's husband. From then on, when the leader talked to a female subordinate, he would not close the door to prove his innocence. Xiao Tang, I want to ask you, can you achieve the precision of a level 6 lathe operator? Director Wu did not keep the secret and asked directly. Yes, the same precision as this batch of parts. Tang Nian Nian nodded. Director Wu was overjoyed and rubbed his hands excitedly, but he was still not at ease and asked again. Can you really guarantee it? There will be no accidents? Absolutely not. Tang Nianyan's tone was very sure. As long as she is there, the delivery can be guaranteed. Xiao Tang, you are really a big baby of Hongxing. Director Wu was so excited that he almost hugged Tang Nianyan, but when he stretched out his hand, he remembered that there is a difference between men and women. Although he treated Tang Nianyan as his own child, he still had to avoid suspicion. He stretched out his hand and made a bend in the air. He scratched his scalp in embarrassment and then put it down. Xiao Tang, the bonus for this batch of parts will be paid with your salary next month. You should have a good rest for a few days. Director Wu mentioned the bonus and said that he would send Tang Nianyan to the guest house. Thank you, Uncle Wu. I have to go find my second uncle and ask him to send me later. Okay, I must ask your second uncle to send you. Your girl should not be alone. Zhucheng has been in turmoil these days. There is a murderer who has killed several girls and has not been caught yet. Director Wu mentioned the perverted serial killer demon. Tang Nianyan became interested and asked what was going on. He killed 4 before the new year and 1 in the first month of the year. He has no humanity and his methods are particularly cruel. He only targets beautiful girls. By the way, Xiao Tang, don't wear a red scarf. This demon only targets girls wearing red scarves. He is worse than a beast. Director Wu knew more about the situation. He didn't say that the murderer not only abused the girls, but also cut off their reproductive organs, for fear of scaring Tang Nianyan. Anyway, don't go out alone at night. You have to have someone with you. Director Wu repeatedly reminded her. Tang Nianyan nodded in agreement, and watched Director Wu ride away on his bicycle. Tang Nianyan went to the dormitory building to find her second uncle. On the way, she was still thinking about the perverted killer, who specifically targeted girls wearing red scarves. So, should she tie a red scarf and go out for a stroll? It's not that she is kind-hearted, but mainly because the world is peaceful now and her hands are itching. She misses the zombies of the end of the world. Tang Manin and his wife didn't sleep, waiting for Tang Nianyan, and went downstairs from time to check on her. Nianyan is back. Tang Manin saw her niece riding a bicycle from afar, and her face was full of smiles, with a few more flattering expressions. The uncle and nephew returned home. Xian Jinju's smile was a bit flattering. She heard her husband talk about her niece's great achievements. She also knew that her niece was now a guest of honor of Director Wu. Her husband's promotion depended on her niece. How could she dare to underestimate this girl? She was too busy trying to curry favor with her. Nianyan, eat the cake. What did Director Wu say to you? Xian Jinju took out the egg cake. This was the first time. Nothing, second aunt. Do you have any scrapped hand crank sock machines in your factory? Tang Nianyan moved the egg cake to Tang Dandan's side. The little girl's saliva was almost dripping. Tang Dandan smiled and grabbed the egg cake and stuffed it into her mouth. Her mother usually locked the egg cake in a box, so she couldn't eat it at all. Xian Jinju glared at her daughter fiercely, but Tang Dandan was not afraid. She ate the egg cake in big mouthfuls. Anyway, she knew that with her second sister around, her parents would not dare to scold her. There are dozens of scrapped sock machines, all piled up in the warehouse and rusting. Why are you asking this? Xian Jinju asked curiously. Can't they be sold as scrap metal? Tang Nianyan wanted to find a bargain. If she bought these scrapped sock machines as scrap, she could sell them for 138 yuan after repairing them. I don't know. How about I go and ask? Xian Jinju didn't understand these things. She was just a small temporary worker, the most insignificant in the factory. Don't ask yet. I'll come to the factory to find you later. Don't ask around about the scrapped sock machines. Tang Nianyan didn't want her second aunt to alert the enemy. Not many people knew about this business opportunity. If her second aunt asked around, it would be exposed. The sock factory might know about it, and then they would raise the price, and she would lose a lot of money. Okay, I won't ask. Xian Jinju was itching to death, but she didn't ask again. She now realized that her niece was very capable. There must be a deep meaning behind asking about these sock machines. She was not as smart as her niece, so She just had to obey. They were all family members, and her niece would definitely not forget her share of benefits. Nian, can you give me some advice on how to become a regular employee? Xian Jinju couldn't help asking. She really didn't want to be a temporary worker anymore, doing the most tiring work and suffering the most vicious anger. Did the workshop director scold you again? Tang Manin asked. No, I just felt uncomfortable. That Xia Hongmei took socks home every day, and the director never said anything when he saw it. I took one last time and was scolded by the director for a long time. If I were a regular employee, I wonder if she would dare to scold me. Xian Jinju was very dissatisfied. She knitted socks quickly and well, much better than Xia Hongmei, but her salary was half of Xia Hongmei's, and she couldn't make any extra money. Xia Hongmei steals socks every day. A pair of socks costs more than 1 yuan. She can earn more than 30 yuan a month, plus her salary, which is 60 or 70 yuan. No wonder Xia Hongmei and her husband eat meat every day. I heard that Xia Hongmei's family eats meat every day. The neighbors next door can smell it. It must be the money earned from stealing socks. If I were a formal employee, our family could eat meat every meal. Xian Jinju became more and more angry. She was more skilled than Xia Hongmei, and her hands and feet were faster than Xia Hongmei, but Xia Hongmei ate meat while she ate vegetable stems. Mom, we eat meat too. My second sister took it, Tang Dandan said vaguely with an egg cake in her mouth. How can it be the same? Xian Jinju was not happy, and then she found a bag of egg cakes with only a small half left. She was so